Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are the Divided People. In this episode, we had Donald Kelly and Garrett from The Fence. They're doing their own little podcast that's starting in September. We actually sat down for over 3 hours and kind of just BS. We talked about a lot of topics. I think we kind of found ourselves in actually 15 to 25 minutes in. We started talking more about podcast, and then we went on to political things and the world. I mean, before that, it's really all comic books, and I know we talk about comic books a lot, so if you want to skip the past 15 minutes and get to the bigger stuff, you're more than welcome to. If you like our podcast, The Divided People, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and everything like that. Please like us on all platforms. We are trying to get more platform viewers so we can become more popular and have more people on. If you would like to be on the podcast, please message us. We will talk about anything and everything, debate anything and everything, because that's what we're about. So, if nevertheless, please enjoy this show.
And we are live. I'm your host, Marky Mark.
What up, I'm Lance?
He's the other host. He doesn't do his thing, I guess.
We're
the Divided People. Today we have with us, across from us, we'll go with you first, Garrett.
Garrett Schexnayder.
And Donald Kelly.
And their podcast is?
On the Fence.
On the Fence.
On the Fence.
Okay, where'd y'all get the name from?
So what I did was...
it's a good name, not gonna
lie. we couldn't come up with, like, any names. And sometimes I try to be politically correct, even though, like, I'm a good troll in real life. So what I did was I hopped on different social media platforms, and I just asked all my friends and followers for a name. And I put $50 up on the bar tab. And... it came down to On the Fence and a couple other names, and like we discussed it, and it was like, all right, we're gonna go with On the Fence because it's a little bit more cleaner. And the guy that actually gave the name, he was like, well, y'all look good at kind of making people make a decision, and y'all are always like kind of right in the middle between different topics, so go with On the Fence, and it stuck.
How long have you known each other for?
About what, 2 or 3 years now?
2 or 3 years, yeah. We actually played semi-pro football together. That's where we met, yeah.
So you've been swole. Okay.
Been swole.
Look, I said this before, but this man, like, I seen him on Facebook. I'm thinking, like, he's not skinny, but I'm like, okay, he ain't got that much muscle. But I'm like, okay, cool, talking, like, and then I'm like, something about a teacher or something like that. And so I'm thinking, you know, like small little history teacher or something. And then I see him get out this car, moving his shoulders left. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, man, he gotta be a troll, because when they come try to talk to him in real life, they pussy. Like,
Please come to my house. Please come to my house.
Yeah, like, never mind, man. We cool.
And then I have I do have like a small ass like soccer mom gas efficient car too. Like that doesn't help.
So it's so small. You're like, yeah, I'm in a small car.
What, from police academy?
Yeah, like I'm literally bigger than my car. It's kind of sad, but it is what it is. Yeah.
So y'all actually, did y'all lock down the name already and everything? Did y'all check on like other podcasts and see if they were taking you?
Yeah, I looked into it. I didn't see anything online. Probably should work on trademarking and all that.
Yeah, because we went through we tried, like, the first 3 things we came up with were all taken.
Yeah,
yeah, we looked into that. We were going to be called the Great Debate at first.
Yeah,
we wanted to focus on debates, and then some D&D dude, Dungeons and Dragons guy. And I'm like,
yeah, he called
why?
I was like, why are you called the Great Debate?
And he's like, on this score for us, we're gonna roll the dice and see if we take out the Gordon. I'm like, what? No.
All right.
Yeah, so we ended up with the Divided People because, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. Everyone's divided.
No, it's a dope name, especially in this climate, because 2019,
sure.
Everybody's butt hurt.
So yeah, if y'all are still new to our style, it's just the basic concept we had was people don't want to talk anymore about topics. They rather just avoid it. And we're like, that's kind of the source of the divide, right?
Civil discourse is kind of like the driving factor in politics right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even not just in that, because we were talking, we're like, dude, people can talk about whatever they want. Ford versus Chevy, I don't care. Do what you want.
Our first episode was, it was me, him, and a buddy. We went to go see Avengers Endgame. And...
No spoilers yet. Still
no,
you haven't seen
what?
anything?
Oh, shit, I'm fucked, dude. I'm fucked.
We're in the movie.
I spoiled it for the last guy who was here.
He spoiled it for 2 different people. So we're in the middle of the movie, and this part happens.
Don't
and he
listen to our
goes-
podcast. Those
He goes,
episodes.
son of a bitch, are you serious right now? This is what they're fucking doing? And the guy on the other side, he's like, yeah. I'm just like, and so I heard two different sounds the whole time. He's like, you got me fucking kidding. Really? Stop. Yep. This has happened. Another
So
one's
yeah,
like,
in case
"That's
you can't
so
tell, I
awesome."
wasn't a big fan of the movie.
So they debated it.
I was highly disappointed. I'm not saying it was terrible. I was just highly disappointed.
It's gonna be hard to
podcast.
podcast with my ears plugged.
No, we're not.
We're gonna avoid the Marvel topic.
He's done that too many times. You done it to 3 people. Remember the other guy
Shut
was sitting in. He did it to my brother-in-law. One guy, one more.
That dude was funny.
Yeah, because he was like, he's sitting there and like he says something and he's just like, what?
I didn't even notice.
Like he just, someone died.
They set me up though. They were like, "We're gonna talk about Marvel Comics," and then I'm like, "Of course it's gonna go into that." I'm like, I
Yeah, he
can't
didn't tell
help
us
it.
who. Well, he did. He's like, hold up, I haven't seen Endgame. We're like, don't worry, we're not gonna spoil it. And like 2 minutes later, I'm like, wow.
People
was
are
like,
gonna
"Ah,
listen and
fuck."
be like, "What kind of loser hasn't seen Endgame yet?"
That's. I was like, dude.
Get from under
I was
the
like,
rock,
it's
buddy.
been a while, man. I was like, I can't hold it on forever.
Bro, like legit, I've seen every piece of Marvel with the exception of Agent Carter, and I think the last season and a half of Agents of Shield, and I didn't see Age of Ultron. So like
You
once
didn't see Age of Ultron?
I didn't. I like that's the one movie I didn't see. I just got so really you take like those small snippets aside. I've seen everything else, like even all the Marvel series. I'm actually like on the last episode of Jessica Jones. After that, I just got to go watch Spider-Man Far From Home.
Do you miss Daredevil?
Daredevil's my show, man.
I know.
Daredevil.
Dude, that hallway scene was amazing.
Oh,
That hallway scene, I was
oh.
like, I called like 3 different people. I was like, dude, you gotta watch this. And I was like, just
Bruh,
watch this part.
If you have a Netflix account, bro, I don't know if they put it off Netflix yet, but
No,
Daredevil,
they're not pulling it off.
Daredevil. I have to check that out.
bro, like
Punisher too.
Tell you what, I saw a scene.
Punisher was like that first episode
when
he-
Punisher came in on the season
sledgehammer.
3 of Daredevil.
Well, I'm talking about the old Punisher. Like
Yeah.
That first episode when he got that sledgehammer. And when I watched that part, I was like, what the fuck?
Bro, like his cameo on Daredevil, because Daredevil basically set up Jessica Jones, which sets up Luke Cage.
Yeah.
When they both indirectly set up Iron Fist, well, Punisher spun directly off.
Yeah.
All right.
That was so terrible.
I'm dead. He ran. It basically, like, freaking Punisher was a direct spin from Daredevil.
Yeah.
And like when you see him with the rifle saying nickel and dime, I'm like, oh shit, he about
Yeah.
to fuck speed. And they got the right person to play him. I
Yeah.
cannot see anybody else besides
I,
him being the Punisher.
What is great? It's phenomenal.
They had one scene on Facebook where he was in the jail or the prison, and that was intense. I was like, yeah, this is definitely on my
When,
list now.
Well, yeah, what got me is like it was in the first episode or the second episode or something like that. That hallway scene though, that was
In the
one
prison.
cut.
yeah.
It was one take, and they said they had to do it a few times, but it was just one. It was one take, no cutaway, no changing cameras. It's all shot from down at the end of the hallway,
Yeah.
and it's so raw because at the end of it he's like tired and he's
Yeah.
still like fuck. He's still just
Right.
going.
Yeah,
at it.
it shows them getting fucked up.
And at
bro.
first I was kind of like, man, like, why are they doing white jail suits? And then when you see that hallway scene, you're like, that's why. Because he's soaked in blood at the end of it. I'm just like,
Yeah, that really adds to the visual
like
effect
his
of it.
beard is just dripping blood from him. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
I was really disappointed.
How y'all feel about the Defenders? Like, did y'all enjoy that
Daredevil
season?
made that. It was just Daredevil for me,
Yeah.
honestly.
Got you.
Daredevil, Punisher, a little bit of Luke Cage.
I liked Luke Cage for some aspects, and some aspects I did. I think they went a little heavy with the I don't know how to put it. Like I really don't know how to put it. Like
Second
this,
season fell
this
apart for me.
motivational black community. I was like, okay, no, I get it. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like put it in there. It doesn't need to consume the whole show though.
Yeah.
I'm like you're taking up the whole show with that.
And I like the page from my post. You want me to like it from the Facebook page?
Yeah, so I can tell.
All right, got you. And like so, reading if you like catch the comic history, like it
I
it
know.
kind of was the same
Yeah.
way, and it kind of stayed too attached to the origin. So I get what you're saying.
So,
Yeah, because I liked it. I
Yeah.
thought he was perfect for the part.
Oh,
And I
I'm not
thought
denying.
there's-
No, that
Oh
was.
no, he
That's
was perfect.
T.
with casting.
Yeah, that's
you
T.
gotta. Well, I'm telling you, you gotta watch these
check it out.
Netflix series.
Like
bro.
especially the first season. The first season I really liked, and I liked your boy who plays the bad guy.
Wait, which bad
Not
guy?
his sister. Not his sister.
Oh, you talking about Shit, the one who owned the club.
Yeah, plays the piano and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Because I
yeah,
even
yeah.
liked a lot of the music.
Oh,
in it.
he crushed it, and like the framing that they did
Yeah,
with the shots.
I didn't like how they killed him off so quick though. I was like, come on, man.
Well,
Yeah.
his sister was
I didn't,
supposed to be.
well, I didn't like the twist. I was like, no, that's
Yeah, it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, you like twist. You're supposed to like twist like that, but I'm like, no, he had more personality.
Yeah,
He did.
he was a bigger star. He had more personality.
But that
I liked
second
him
season
better.
of Luke Cage fell apart for me. I thought the first season was phenomenal. The second season, I was like, all right. And then like Jessica Jones, the first season was made by the villain.
Yeah.
What's his name? He's phenomenal.
Oh, the guy that
Purple-
played
the purple guy,
Killmonger.
right?
Yeah,
Not
no.
Killmonger. Killbride. Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Killbride.
He's in Golden Omens right now. He's
Yeah,
Evil
yeah, yeah.
Angel, and like he's a phenomenal actor. He was the doctor in Doctor Who.
Okay.
And he made that season for me, and that's the only reason why I really like Jessica Jones because he falls into his roles and he's in there.
I haven't seen Doctor Who.
See,
Not a
Jessica
single
Jones
second.
is
Have
star.
I missed
I haven't either. I just know he was on
You
there.
did, you were, how you feel about Jessica Jones? Did you enjoy
She
it?
was like I don't know. She was that stalker thing with her. I was like, she's fucking weird.
Yeah.
I was like, she's a fucking weird chick. I
So
was
like, I feel like the second season is peak Jessica Jones. Third season hadn't been bad. I'm mad because like, have you seen season 3 yet?
No, you can.
All right, so basically, you know who Hellcat is from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
comics. Okay, well, you remember how they kind of alluded to Triss being Hellcat?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what happens in season 3 from the operation. And I mean, well, shit, if y'all want me to tell y'all, basically,
we don't care.
all right. So basically, I didn't want to be. I'll be like your man.
Well,
Like, what?
So since all of it got canceled, I'm kind of like,
Well, I think what they're gonna do is Disney's gonna move everything to their platform.
Yeah.
I was thinking that
Instead of pulling all their stuff back, which
it
is really
was,
messed
but
up
the,
because like they just made the deal with Netflix.
the
not that long ago.
Punisher actor, I forget his name, and the Daredevil actor, their contracts aren't signed.
If they, I'm not
That's why
gonna
I'm
lie.
worried.
No,
If-
they pulled that complete. Like,
Well, no,
they're not doing
the
it
talk of it was they won't go to Hulu.
Yeah, but I'm
But
saying,
their contracts aren't signed.
Yeah, because Cloak and Dagger is on I think Hulu, which I
It's
haven't
on
seen.
Freeform actually.
I haven't seen that.
Cloak
so
and
that's the
Dagger,
one show. Yeah,
pretty good.
I know they film it in the city.
I don't.
Is
like,
it? Is it?
They film it.
It
in
does
the,
because some of it felt fake. I'm not gonna like kind of like the originals from Vampire Diaries. It's like it's supposed to be in New Orleans. They film it in L.A.
Yeah, no, like they
Some parts-
legitimately, yeah.
some parts
like
are
the
fake.
old Six Flags Park, like they filmed
Yeah.
some scenes
Well,
out there.
Yeah, but I feel like some of that was.
Yeah, I mean, it, obviously,
But it's
they can
really
bounce
is good.
around.
I really liked it. It was different.
But nah, man, basically, like, she goes on a murderous rampage. Like, if you're a villain, she kills you. Because basically, from a thriller standpoint, I can tell you will still enjoy how it plays out, but basically, it's a serial killer who he does a photo shoot of you as he's killing you to basically get your true self.
That's
Triss mother.
What is this?
This is Jessica Jones' third season.
okay.
Basically, the third
That sounded
season.
familiar. That sounded like something else.
well, no, that was off. Batman had a killer like that too.
Yeah, there was a movie like that
If
too.
you
man.
if you morph if you take Killbride from season 1 and mix it with like a little bit of Typhoid Mary-ish kind of, that's this guy.
Okay.
He's like an unassuming everyday kind of guy, but like dude just fucking kills you. And he what sends Triss over the edge is he killed Dorothy, and I mean butchered Dorothy. And I'm on the penultimate episode, and basically Triss said "fuck you" and stomped his head in on the elevator shaft. So Jessica, so right now where I'm at right now is they just caught her, like Jessica and Malcolm and all them, and they basically about to bring her in. Hopefully, it's like y'all don't want Triss to go in, but bro, like Triss was fucking people up, bro, like she got hands, like she's jumping over bullets,
like she actually got hit. Like it looked convincing. Because
Yeah.
Not like Iron Fist?
Captain Marvel. I was gonna say Captain
No,
Marvel
like
most
I mean,
convincing fighting I've ever
with
seen in my life.
Hellcat, her power is she can see in the dark like a cat. Quick reflexes, hand to hand combat, and she went on like some CrossFit shit. It's like, bro, like dude literally like shot at her. She walked the wall, jumped over, boom. She's getting choked out in the elevator on some UFC shit. She climbed the wall in the
Oh, you
elevator,
did that
flipped
flipping.
over. Yeah, like I mean, she's awesome. Like the same way Jessica can like jump up.
Yeah.
If she literally, Dorothy found out Triss was powered. She hummed Triss out the window and she lands straight on her feet like a fucking cat. Like it's like I said, I've enjoyed the Netflix series. It's cringy at times as Iron Fist was. I could
Iron Fist
appreciate
was.
what they I could appreciate what they
No, I can't because they picked.
I tried,
they
dude.
literally picked 2 actors from Game of Thrones that had no combat ability, even in Game of Thrones. It wasn't like they picked people who did their own stunts or who did stunts. Nothing like they picked the people that we're gonna pick the gay guy who just got butt fucked, and we're gonna pick the girl that got killed by Kist.
What gave me hope is at the last episode of season 2 when he came out with the double gun Iron Fist. Like, I do like that version. It's a dope ass version of the Iron Fist.
They blew it in
I
Defenders.
was like, well, but he can't fight that
Like-
well. Like, dude, Iron Fist is supposed to be the best martial artist in the
My
Marvel
name is
universe.
Danny Rand.
The first when he did the first stance, I'm like, what is this Power Ranger shit he is doing? Because that's what he did. He did a Power Ranger stance, and it wasn't like no Dragon Ball Z where I can't find any openings. The dude's looking like I could punch you right now, you little fucker. You ain't shit.
Well, not to mention like the chick in there that's like his sidekick at a certain point.
Oh, yeah,
Not really a
Colleen
sidekick,
Wing.
but
But that's what I'm saying.
The
Like,
love
what I'm saying
interest.
is like, okay, he's the Iron Fist, been trained by these legendary people, and she kicks about as many people's ass as he does. I'm like,
now season 2,
she ain't even legendary trained.
The one hardcore part I really enjoyed was the in the restaurant when they just went haywire on those people.
Oh, yeah.
That was the best part of season 2, and it wasn't even that good. That should have been like something from regular.
We
Iron
did
Fist.
get Misty Knight.
Yeah, but
We did get Misty Knight with the
look,
Bionic.
Punisher and Daredevil hands down
Yeah.
the best that they had.
Yeah.
I knew that was gonna happen. Though.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was phenomenal.
I wish they'd cross him over to the MCU just for a cameo.
Yeah,
Just for a
dude.
cameo.
I said that because I was like, for Endgame, it'd be great if they just brought them in.
Because we missed out on that
At least
big
just
scene.
show them. Wouldn't it be cool if freaking like Daredevil just fucking like swings in at the last moment and you're like, who are you? Just help it out. You know, just
Because Civil War is supposed to be so much bigger. It's supposed to be hundreds, if not thousands, of heroes running head first into each other. Which I hope they go into the Civil War, Secret War.
oh,
that's-
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I don't know because the way they look like they're trying
They're
to go
talking
with
about
it.
going full woke on the
Yeah.
on the new stuff. There,
I mean, Tom Holland's
Tom
trying
Holland,
to
yeah.
make Spider-Man gay. I'm just
Tom
like,
Holland that says he wants
yeah, he's
Spider-Man.
like, he's like, I'm
He
open to
encourages
Spider-Man
it.
being gay, but I'm like, you are having this little thing going on.
Okay, you can have a gay Spider-Man if you want.
You can't with
But Peter
But
Parker?
Peter, that's what I want to say. Peter, his love interest has always been either Mary J. or Gwen Stacy. Which Multiverse was dope because of that. But it's the thing. They actually at one point tried to make Miles Morales gay. I said you can't make the only black Spider-Man gay.
that was my thing. Like, I'm like,
We finally got him. We were taken from him.
that's two things that I was
And
thinking
then he's
about.
mixed. He's like
Yeah, he's
half
actually
Mexican.
he's Asian.
Yeah, Latino.
And, I mean, not Asian. I'm
He's
sorry.
Latino.
He's
He's
Latino.
Latin
He's,
and-
yeah.
And his
black.
mom was speaking Spanish, and that
Yeah.
threw me off too.
Yeah.
But that was two things I thought too. I'm like, okay, so let's break this down. You want Spider-Man to be gay? Can't be Peter Parker because if Mary Jane's gone, half the story is gone. You
Yeah,
can't
a
you
lot
can't
of
replace
his
that.
Like
with-
it's a lot of
Also,
character
that-
development that
and you
missing.
can't just replace her. You can't. That's just
Yeah.
that's retarded. It really is. I don't know if I could say that. Forgive me, YouTube. Number 2,
Demonetized.
Miles Morales. You can't make him gay because of the whole arc with the universe when Gwen and him are in
Him
the same
and
universe.
Gwen are very tight.
When Gwen nearly dies from what's his face, Venom,
Yeah.
and Miles went full on like bloodthirsty on that dude. Like,
We'll give you Spider Pig. Spider Pig can be gay.
They were saying
Gwen's bi. Okay?
I was okay with
Gwen's
that.
bi.
I can see her being bi. It's okay. I'm
They trying
alright
to turn
with that.
Captain Marvel gay.
they
Well,
were
Brie
I didn't
Larson
hear about
is.
that.
they were trying to say that they were going to do like a second Suicide Squad with all the women, and that
Yeah, it's
Poison
Birds of
Ivy and
Prey.
Harley Quinn
Did
were
they
going
not
to
learn
be
Birds
gay.
of
anything
Prey.
from
But
Ocean's
Poison
that
Ivy
it is?
can't kiss anybody.
Hey,
What's she gonna do?
Well, DC is. And you can say what you want. DC is my favorite.
I didn't say
Yeah, me
that.
too.
Well, no, some people like look at me.
That's a
I'm
whole
like,
other
I'm not
Right.
talking about movies. I'm not talking about.
I don't
movies.
treat comics like Ford and Chevy. Like anybody kills my fuck you for like
Well,
DC.
no, I like Marvel. I like
Yeah.
Marvel, but
Yeah.
comic wise, DC outdoes them.
I never understood that. People fighting over Marvel DC. I'm like, dude, admit it. You like fucking both.
I do. I love it.
I'm like, dude,
Right.
okay, you may lean more toward one or the other.
Right.
So, but really, you like
But
both.
the character development in DC is a lot more there.
Oh look, I, like Teen Titans gonna
Teen
always be
Titans.
my favorite storyline. It's sad that all of them didn't survive being Teen Titans, but
how you like the new Teen Titans?
The,
what's about
the
Teen
young-
Titan Go?
Did you hear what's going to
Do
happen?
you like the Young Justice one on what you call it?
I did enjoy Young Justice.
I haven't
The
seen that
new
one.
season's
The,
dropping.
yeah, they just did. They just
They
dropped
did?
second half.
I did.
Second half of the
enjoy
third
it.
Is that where it's like a grown Robin or whatever?
Well, it's actually they go. The first season is like the beginning of it, the Flash and all. It's the basic ones, the Flash, Robin, and,
Yeah.
and then through the show they actually grow up. Then he's Nighthawk.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they go through all that.
But like, I don't know, the
Aqualad-
comics in
Aqualad
DC, like
becomes
when
the
they
leader of
merge
the
together,
Justice
which
League.
it makes me so sad with the movies because they don't know how to do it.
But
I think they rushed it trying to keep up with Marvel.
Well, my
Shazam was good, man.
Shazam. He knows that was my favorite character from the get-go
I didn't get a chance to
because
see that either.
But I think it's out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch it.
in the comic book, when they first introduced him to the Justice League, it was when Superman had the red kryptonite and no one could stop him. Shazam legit just floats down and says, "Hey man, you need to chill," and he punches Shazam, and Shazam goes, "Stop." He punches Shazam, catches it. He says, "I'm warning you." And Superman tries to do the laser eyes, and Shazam, boom, out the fucking atmosphere. In the comic, I was like,
Yeah, because he's like the only one that can match Superman.
"Cause it's magic."
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is because I went and read like giant history of Shazam and all of it.
It's a lot.
I don't like where it ended up in the end though.
Which one?
Well, because
I love the new family. The family's phenomenal.
yeah, but that's all gone now. Like they're all gone. It's only what's his name now.
Oh, you're talking about okay.
I'm talking about the way it ended pretty much with the girl became a bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Well,
gonna go too much, but
Yeah,
I'll still watch
that's
it.
actually.
Oh, yeah.
it's not the movie.
It's not
This
in
ain't the movie.
it's a
This is
comic.
actually comic
And
book.
actually, like the new writer for that is taking care of that. That's gonna be more.
I hope so because what's his name was gone. Billy became the wizard and
that's
disappeared for.
that's being handled.
Yeah, okay.
That's being handled.
Well, I didn't like all
We
that.
don't, we don't talk. That's Dragon Ball GT. We can't discuss
That's
that.
not canon. We're gonna erase that from existence.
We don't discuss about that.
So what do y'all plan on doing a lot in y'all's podcast? Y'all gonna do some politics, some pop culture, some society issues? What?
I mean, we already go back and forth on Facebook with politics.
Yeah, me and him.
Might as well. I mean, we've got good platforms. We've had good discussions on both of our pages. It's a chance to unite all those ideas, and we don't agree on everything. And
So-
I'm sure we'll get to
That's
that.
dope
it's
part.
kind of funny
Yeah.
because like that's what we're doing. We're trying to get the people just to come on and talk. And when I see y'all two, I get that vibe. At the same time, I also get the vibe with, "No, I'm fucking the shit out you right now. Like this is fucking hilarious." Like I feel like I watch y'all messages and like I feel like you're like, "Okay, come on, a little bit closer." Like you want them in a certain area, and then like you laugh because you know
Take the bait.
like you're almost there, but not quite. Yeah, because he'll do small comments, and then he's waiting for these words, and then the words will happen, and then paragraph.
He's already got them typed. They're sitting on the side. He's waiting to post them.
Paste, copy.
Yeah, but I think the same with y'all. Giving somebody a platform to talk, especially with people they disagree about, to realize that just because y'all disagree here doesn't mean y'all have to hate each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well,
Now, we were talking about the guy earlier on Facebook, Matt.
Matty Ice.
And don't insult Matty Ice.
Wait till you try to get them to come on. That's the hard part because we find people that argue online.
Uh-huh.
They will argue like hell online, and we're like,
Yeah.
"Well, come sit down with us, talk."
Yeah.
Where other people can hear your ideas. You feel very passionate about it.
Yeah.
Let people know how passionate you are about it, and they're like, "No, I'm good."
And that's the crazy part. On my timeline, there's been a lot of people like, bro, y'all let me fucking come on your podcast. Like, bro,
I had that at first too, and then like it's silence
yeah.
when you try to. Because at first, what I started telling people was like, okay, just make sure. Bring some facts with you. Bring some articles.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
have them,
for sure.
Just so like we don't have to fact check everything you say, or we don't have to. We can trust you on little stuff.
Yeah.
And-
Radio silence.
And what kind of scares me is like, I know enough people on both sides of the coin, but I have a feeling that everybody on this side are gonna be the ones that show up, and then like there's gonna only be a few on this
I can
side.
see
Well, that was the
You see what
whole
I'm
issue
saying?
with the pro-choice one. Like you're not the women that were pro-choice wanted to attack me, and because it was like I was a white man. It was like straight feminist. I'm like, but I'm not. I'm giving you the opportunity.
Yeah,
This
we
is
didn't
what-
offer the
Yeah.
feminists.
Like we
please,
straight
come on,
out
tell
said
us
at the-
about your feminism.
Yeah, we said it at the beginning. Like we're just two dumb males. Like tell us y'all.
Which, side note, if y'all ever have a black chick on this podcast and she says she's a feminist, you can tell her she know a big ass black guy that said that's bullshit because black women can't be feminists. And I
Explain.
can, all right,
Yeah,
so,
wait. Are you trying to troll people on the podcast?
that ass. All right, so
For the 3 viewers we have, stay tuned.
Oh no, I'm boosting this one.
About damn time. Going
he's
broke
dropping
with-
2,000 on the boost. All right, so one day I made a post, kind of tongue in cheek, and I was like, I forgot how I like set it up, but the end line was, blah blah blah, and I find it funny when there's black people out there that feel like black people can't be racist. So that opened up the floodgates.
I was on there for that one. Yeah.
I left that post alone for 2 days. It was still doing numbers
He got his popcorn already.
at my notification. So I waited a while. Mind you, this post came like a couple of weeks after I had made a post saying that the Black Panther Party actually had women in position of power. I'm not 100% certain, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they did have a few white women within the organization. But most of the leaders in the Black Panther Party.
Forrest Gump said there was.
Right. And I was just like, I'm not about to trust a movie that I enjoyed as an 8-year-old kid. But I do know that they had black women in positions of power. Which, side note, that's why within the black community there is a lot of love, or at least a little bit of love for Castro, because Cuba actually has an ex-Black Panther leader with, what is it, asylum? That's when you have safety. Political asylum. Yeah. Asasiver, I can't ever pronounce her first name right, but Caesar Shakur. And so I was just like boom boom bam. So feminism wasn't needed because civil rights was taking care of not only the racial issue, but it was also taking care of women's rights. It was also taking care of even gay rights. Because I'll be honest, all gay rights are really doing is piggybacking off of civil rights.
Well,
It's
I
really-
mean, it's funny because we mentioned that the last podcast because it was piggybacking off of gay rights. It's pedophiles.
Yeah, pedophiles are now.
Oh, I called that shit like 3 years before it happened.
did.
That's exactly what we said.
I was like, somebody's going to
Everybody's
identify.
been saying that. They said they're going to stretch this because what did conservatives say
That
a
was
long
their main
time ago?
concern.
They kept saying y'all are going to use this to jump into this, and then this is going to jump into this.
I identify as a 10-year-old.
Exactly. Well, they already had a dude said he identifies he's an elderly guy, and he says he wants to identify as a younger. I don't know where the benefit is in that. I guess he's going to try to get Social Security all over again.
And I'm also Korean. So there we
While
go.
I'm sure some of that is very true, I think we have a problem in more issues than this, that the media is going to portray those people, and it might be like 0.001% of the entire population.
Well, yeah,
you know
that's,
what I mean?
well, that's the whole thing with the cop brutality, for instance.
Yeah.
It's very minor, and I'm not saying it's not happening.
Statistically
it's happening.
speaking.
Yeah, no,
For
it's
sure.
If you look at it straight from a numbers
Because
issue.
a lot's happening. You see the videos, but then when you actually put it in mass of how many people are in the United States, it's a small percent.
It is.
And then you also have then you have the other videos that aren't being showed of Latinos getting pulled over, white people, Asians, all that. And then it's like, okay, but what's going on with those? The media's like, no, we don't want that. We want this.
Right.
We want this over
Right.
here.
Right, yeah.
And it's always, I don't like that because it's like, why not just keep it biased?
You know what's crazy? They actually had a
no,
white.
it's
Yeah.
They had a white guy that died on his hands and knees, begging the police officer not to shoot him.
And where was that at?
I forgot where it was
Sorry,
at, but it was in a
correction.
hotel.
Where was the video? Like where
Funny
is it
shit.
at?
His old lady. I don't think she got forced to sign. She may have been forced to sign an NDA, but basically what happened is they basically silenced her, like she couldn't say shit, and then she said, "Fuck that, I'm fighting it." There's also a white kid, I think, in Carolina who got shot while in his car in the drive-thru of a Dairy Queen on a date. So that shit happens too. Like I remember, like on my timeline, I was like, "Hey,
Shit, I almost got shot when I was 16. When I was
Right,
16,
like-
state trooper. I mean, and he was a black state trooper. I
Like-
stepped out. My first time ever getting pulled over. Right. I stepped out of the car and was like, "Hey," and then he was like, drew down on me. I was like, "Whoa!" Break dancing. I'm like, "What you want, man? What you want?" And he was like, he was just coming off me. I'm like, "Dude, I'm coming from an ROTC event thing." And I was like, that's it. And he's harassed me about it. He's like, "You got anything in the car?" I'm like, "Nah, man, you can do whatever you want." He's like, "You been drinking?" I was like, "I don't even like alcohol." Yeah, that's what they all say. I'm like, "Nah, it's true."
it can happen to anybody, and that was the one thing that I was like, I say, look, when the cops in the right, I'll share that fucking video. When it happens to somebody that isn't black, I'm gonna share that fucking video. You know what I'm saying? But before I forget, yeah. So basically, the feminism shit, it make no sense for a black woman to be feminist because
that a lot.
technically, feminism was started to basically to cancel out the civil rights movement. It started, like, lack of a better way of saying it, it was a white girl suburban movement.
There we go.
And it came in and basically
He's not wrong.
separated
A lot of it
Yeah.
was suburban housewives who felt like they were
well,
being, but most
and
of it,
they
they could have dealt with a lot of that in their
Well,
own
yeah,
homes.
but, I mean,
And they
you look-
brainwashed enough black chicks like, oh, well, fuck it. I'm like, but nah, y'all had positions of power over
well,
here.
yeah, but you got to think like in the 40s, right?
Yeah.
Women had like major jobs running the factory because we were in the middle of the Second
Yeah,
War.
that's
Yeah.
when it
You
started.
know what I mean? So it's like they had to go back in time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like when people say feminist, I'm like, what do you mean, right?
I'm talking like classical feminists.
Do you mean like?
Yeah,
if
well,
you
okay, so you
mean-
got first wave, second wave, now
yeah,
new generation.
If you mean
so-
that you want women to have equal pay for the same job, I'm all about it. You know what I'm saying?
well,
At least in theory. You know what I'm saying? Like, so the new studies out are, women make what is it, 85 cents for
Tread
every
lightly.
dollar.
God,
Tread
yeah.
lightly.
so
But that doesn't count for overtime work for men. It
Right.
doesn't count for hazardous jobs that women don't usually do.
well, we were talking about this the other day because, like, in our job,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, there's women working in the office, and I've told some other girl this. I was like, our company's hiring all the time. You can come be a cable man. I'm like,
yeah.
they don't want to be. I'm like, we actually had women apply to be cable technicians, and they gave them better jobs working in the office.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I didn't even know that position was available.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
like,
funny
so
'cause they get
why
the
didn't I
same
get?
benefits that we do? And it's kind of like, well, we're out in the heat more. We're going in and out of customers' houses. We
Yeah.
have kids who get sick. Like they get the same sick time, PTO time. I'm like, that's not really right.
Working in the air conditioning.
When we get diarrhea, we can't just be going running in a customer's house and like it's just not gonna work.
We edit that out.
You're talking to a guy that crawl underneath houses and going
That's
attics
what we
every
do.
day.
Yep.
That's what we do. That's why I said y'all wouldn't do that.
I'm an outside rep.
Say, not saying there isn't. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's female cable women out there.
It's
I'm not saying they don't exist. There's always
people
exceptions.
think when you make these statements that you're singling somebody out, right? There's exceptions to everything, right? So one is like women happen to be nurturers. It's usually what they're good at, right? So
more nurses are female.
Nurses,
I mean, it's just the way they
teachers.
tend to go.
things like that. Even
We're
like
gonna get
psychologists,
killed by
psychiatrists.
women.
But when you say feminist, if you believe in equal pay, equal rights, yeah, of course. I think most people
The
are.
ridiculous thing about that is like that's already a law.
Yeah, it
They're
is.
like, no, we want equal. It's a
JFK
law.
passed that.
It's
JFK,
illegal
yeah.
to pay them differently for the same work.
JFK passed that,
And
in
they're
the
like,
60s, I think.
well, he gets paid more than me. He's been here 4 years longer than you.
Yeah.
And handles twice the caseload you do, or whatever. I mean, like, yeah. As soon as you get to that point, I mean, when they actually compare people, apples for apples, same time working there, all the same
Yeah.
things, women come out making more money.
Yeah, and what's funny
They're being
is
offered higher pay positions.
if you look at like Scandinavian countries who strive to be like more egalitarian than other nations, the more that they're presented with the choice, the more they choose nurturing jobs over like creative, like engineering, mechanical things. Which I mean, your engineering,
What
your
is it,
STEM
yeah,
fields, they're gonna make more money usually.
It's the same thing. Like when they did this study years and years ago about boys and girls' learning habits,
Yeah.
and they were like, the current educational system is not geared toward men or boys. It's boys like to move around. They want to do stuff. They prefer to be hands-on, visual, hands-on, that kind of stuff. Girls aren't as energetic as that. I'm not saying they're not energetic. They need their
Right.
time too, but they tend to not be as excited.
We
and
move
energetic.
different.
Yeah,
differently.
for sure.
Socially, we move different.
Yeah, I mean,
We can't say that though because we're all the same.
yeah,
But the
we're
thing is,
guys.
even gay women go about getting women
Yeah,
differently than
yeah,
guys.
absolutely.
Even
They
go about
appro-
it
they approach
differently.
them like men.
Right. They even go about it differently than how a gay guy would go get a gay guy. 'Cause that's the dope part about when I was bouncing. I got to observe people. I was like a bootleg sociologist, you know what I'm saying? Just watching people interact. You know what I mean? Like they had this one girl, she's like, well, yeah, my ex is in such and such by this other girl, and like I'm gonna just see if I'm gonna ask me if I can join in. My boy looked, I was like, fuck that, like hop in. Like, it's just like you going about this all
Yeah.
wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like gave like a 30-minute lecture on like how to finesse her way into a situation with her ex-girlfriend and another girl. I'm like, you're in. They're already comfortable with you. You're a chick. Y'all have the same equipment.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like first wave feminists, it's funny because if you talk to any first wave feminists, most of them are like, "What are you talking about?" They're like Bush, mission accomplished. They think they did what they they set out to accomplish. Then you had second wave, which they started crossing into other things, and then now you have third wave, which are straight up like you're not a feminist, you're a sexist.
Yeah, all men should die.
You want supremacy over all men.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you desire.
It's getting to a point where, like, I get it. There are some elements of masculinity that's quote unquote toxic. Boom, boom, boom. All right, but at the same time, men do things a certain way for a reason. The same way women
Well,
do things for a certain way.
So
you see what I'm saying?
A lot of the things that these toxic. They call toxic.
Yeah.
We're like, even guys think they're douche. Those are douche moves.
Oh, for
We're
sure.
like, no, dude, you're a douche.
Right.
Like, we don't like you either.
And
And
then if
they
you
don't
mention-
understand that. We're like, no, we don't agree with that. That's
That's the
not
thing.
what
But they
we
want
promote.
you to.
Yeah.
They want
for
you
sure.
to think that.
They need a villain.
But when you mention, but y'all almost do the same thing. Oh no, we don't. I'm like, no, I've seen y'all women go. You ain't got a good job. Like you're just not happy.
Oh
with
yeah,
your
yeah.
life."
The
And it's like,
hypocrisy
damn,
is,
like
is
calm down. Let's
ridiculous.
fix this. You know.
I'm
But
like, when I walk up to you to ask you the time and you're like, I got a boyfriend, I'm like, okay, see, that was sexist. You just
dude,
assumed that I was going to come up and do that,
Like-
but you don't even realize that.
like last year, I was in Taco Bell or something like that, and you know, Southern boy, I hold the door open for people. I held the door open for a girl. She's like, what? You think I couldn't do it? I was like, oh, fuck you then. And slammed it in her face and walked. I was like, fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah, what was it in Kingsman? Manners maketh man.
yeah,
It's
like, yeah, Chivalry is dead because y'all bitches, damn.
I fucking murdered that motherfucker.
It wasn't suicide. It was definitely a
He's
drive.
trying to come up for air and you held him underwater.
Or R.I.P. to a real one. You know what I mean? Nah, it's just hilarious, man. It's like you can't even like be a good person. Society is making it like they're making a bad thing to be a guy.
I
You know
think,
what I'm saying? It's just-
honestly, I think we just have it too good that people are just trying to find an excuse to like they want to
No,
be.
Okay.
I agree with
They
that.
want
I have a theory
we
about
have
that.
humans have to be adventurous. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's nothing. The wars in the Middle East are dying down.
See,
Crime is at an
that's what I was
all-time
saying.
low. It's just like, well, where do we get our fix now? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Every generation wants their war.
Oh yeah.
They want it. World War II happened. Everybody united because they had a common cause.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, the whole country thrived on it. You know, everything was better. And then we start getting into a peaceful time. What happens? People start rebelling. People start fighting against their parents, each other, and then we start getting inner turmoil. Why? Because people want conflict.
Yeah.
They try to create it. This Ariel. I'm glad you mentioned earlier the Ariel situation, the black Ariel. Okay, like most people are not even concerned with it. They're like, I don't care. I'm not going to go see
tell
the
you,
movie anyway.
I've been seeing it all over Facebook, and the only post that I see
defending.
is people bitching about people bitching
Exactly.
about.
And
black-
it's funny because
I have not seen anybody complain about a black
So
Ariel.
the a
Nobody.
post that really threw me off because like I told him that I'm like he's like you know Ariel's gonna be black. I'm like, you know, the first thought I thought of two things I thought when I saw that when I read that. One, I didn't know they were making a Little Mermaid action.
Another Little
Two,
Mermaid.
isn't Halle Berry kind of old to be doing Ariel? Kind of read it wrong.
Yeah, 'cause the name is similar.
I'm like, damn, she's kind of old to be doing that,
Isn't it
huh?
like Haley Berry or something?
No, it's Holly Bailey.
Yeah.
My parents did that shit on purpose.
Well, that was the thing. So
I'm just like, Jesus.
that was my second thought, and then I saw the post that says, "Oh, you know, for 4th of July, not my Ariel was trending on Twitter."
Yeah, but the thing
And then I
is,
told him that,
the thing
and he
was
goes, yeah, but did you look at it? And so I go to look at it. It's everyone defending it. There's
yeah,
no one
the
saying
people,
anything.
the people posting the "Not My Ariel" thing started with people defending her, and when they actually go and look at it, like I forgot, it was on some news thing recently, and they went and posted a thing trying to make it like it was people were being racist and stuff. But all of the posts were from accounts that were like anonymous. They had no
Yeah.
pictures. They're like, these are like either bot accounts or y'all
trolls.
created them.
Yeah.
And I've seen, like you said, I've seen redheads do it. And
Yeah,
my
okay,
whole
so-
take about that is one, the reason why they picked someone black was because they wanted a soul for one. You know, because mermaids take souls, so they're like, we're gonna add a little soul into this because redheads have no soul. That's my take on it.
And the crazy thing is too is there's black people with natural blonde hair and there's black people with natural red hair. Like blue eyes is a recessive trait, blonde hair is recessive, and they're both genetic mutations. Like coming from a guy that's left-handed, that's a genetic mutation. The same thing with freaking blue eyes and blonde hair. You know.
So I have a sister-in-law that's got red hair, and the only thing I say is that I read all of like the redheads complaining because that's the only people I've seen complain about, it. And they didn't even care that she was black. Their real complaint was, y'all changed Annie from being a redhead to black. Y'all changed Mary Jane from being a redhead to black, and they're like, and now you're taking Ariel too. They're like, can we keep something?
They're adding soul to it. I'm telling you.
But that was the only thing I read, and I was cracking up
They'll
laughing.
get,
Like, so I was like, I didn't even think about that.
They'll get Brave when it comes out live.
No, that's what I was
what I
thinking.
said.
That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
told him.
Brave. I was like, nobody liked that movie.
They're not
They
going
do
to change Brave because then the Irish will just go ham on them.
Like, if they touch Frozen, there's gonna be a war. I promise you. The Caucasian people are gonna. The Caucasian women, housewives, are gonna revolt.
and
Boondocks will be all white.
And I really, and I really think like Zendaya just like she's popular. She can pull people to the office. It's kind of for what they want to do with the character. Like it fits her. Now with the other two, like I have no idea. Well, I mean, it was a Black Annie was gonna come eventually. I mean, like we got the Oz, we got Black Wizard of Oz with Black Michael,
Yeah, the Wiz.
the Wiz.
But isn't the red hair with Mary Jane kind of iconic though?
Oh, it is. Like I love redheaded women. Like there's a Twitter page that literally follows me that's called I Love Redheaded Women, and it followed me when I was like 20, and it's been a dope 10 years looking at beautiful redheads every day. I'm a cry on the inside when that 2% is no longer on the screen. Shout out to whatever war wiped out that population, but it is what it is.
I had the privilege of marrying a redhead.
There you go. There you go.
You know what I'm talking
And
about?
crazy enough to where it no longer is true today.
I dated a few redheads. That was dangerous.
I should have learned my lesson when I was doing that.
Yeah, I always thought it was a joke, one of those stereotypical jokes, crazy redheads.
No, sometimes.
Ah, man, that shit was real.
I
Same
don't
thing
know,
for
man.
Latin
I
women.
got stabbed.
I'm about to say
My wife-
between
my wife
redheads
is-
and Latinos.
My
I
wife's
don't know.
Hispanic, and it's true. Hot-blooded Latinas. I didn't understand what they meant, and I'm like, damn, it's
But you
true.
know,
I
like
got stabbed twice.
what's crazy is it's like I'm into like every like demographic that has a reputation for being crazy. I love redheaded women.
You
I
like
love Latin
driving.
women.
You
I
say
love
that.
That's why
Italian
you
women.
troll.
You say that, but I'm about to throw a curveball on you.
Yeah.
Men who want to be women. You're into that? They're crazy as
Hell
fuck.
no. Hell no.
They're crazy as fuck.
Women that were born with a vagina, not the ones of the Bruce or Caitlyn.
So what,
Hey,
what do you
don't
think?
that
What do you
name,
think
how
about the
dare you.
transgender movement?
Man,
People can do whatever the hell they want, but this how I feel. All right. If I go on Tinder or Bumble right now, I guarantee I'm gonna come across a couple of transgender people that are acting like they're women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come across a couple of gay guys that set their profile up like they're women. My whole deal is just like,
Come real with it.
yeah, like just let people know ahead of time. Hey, I used to take a piss standing up. Now I take a piss sitting
Well,
down.
my whole thing about that is you have Grindr for gay people. Why not just make a transvestite?
Hey, all people are welcome, remember?
Well, so here's the thing.
And they have that setting on
They-
Bumble and Tinder.
they had
Men looking
this-
for men, women looking for women.
They had this thing recently where they put out a poll, even amongst like very liberal Democrats and stuff like that, where they polled them and said, "Would you date a transgender woman? Would you date it?" And overwhelmingly, the answer was no. And they were like, "Why is that?" It's because people are. Well, I'm like, maybe they just don't. I mean, what you want to tell them, they can have the choice to do whatever they want, but you think something's wrong with these people because they choose not to go along.
Well, not
I'm
just
like,
that.
what
it
happened
also
to choice?
throws off like the dream of ideal of having a family. Like you can't have a classic family that way.
Right. Like if I'm dating a chick, it would be nice to know I could get her pregnant.
Well, that's the thing, but that's the thing. People break up because one side I don't want kids, and the other one's like I do. That's a big breakup topic.
oh yeah, for
That's
sure.
why
So-
like, that's the first thing I bring up. If I look
If
like
it
it's
gets
gonna get
serious, yeah.
serious, I'm like, hey, do you want to have kids? Because I'll just stop wasting your time. All right. Peace.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And so out the get-go, you have these women who are men becoming women mainly because that's really what it
Yeah.
really is.
I don't know. They got a lot of women.
Well, no, a lot of men are becoming women because of the quote-unquote benefits.
I want-
you want me to get
I
real
want,
with it?
I want a man that's like bigger than my duck ass to just get the sex change, go in the UFC, and just
They
mollywop
won't let you
everybody.
do that now.
Yeah,
No,
Because they
hey,
had that
UFC
one.
has-
Hey, Bellator, make that happen.
They had that one that when they asked her like what was going on with it, they're like, oh, it's a medical condition because she was beating ass, and like that's when Joe got really pissed off.
No,
about
because it's for a reason. Like you have high school athletes
Mm-hmm.
losing out on scholarship opportunities.
Well, so they had that case recently, and it was funny.
that
'cause-
marker up, boy.
No, I love it.
So how you got serious with me?
so they had that situation recently where a transgender man changed into a female, won like the high school like championship thing,
it was college,
right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that dude when he was competing as a male didn't even place.
He sucked.
Like didn't show up at all.
Yeah.
But as soon as he goes into the woman category,
He's
he's
whooping
coming out.
everybody.
Yeah, and they're like, "What the fuck?" Like if you're gonna clearly that was your reasoning for doing that or something.
I think it depends on how you want to look at this issue, right? So let's say you take sports. I'm all for having a men's league, a women's league, and a trans league.
Facts.
If that's what you want, hey, that's more sports for me to
Except
watch.
that,
I'll
problem is
watch
that
it.
would just be a super tiny demographic. Because first of all, a very tiny demographic is actually transgender. Then you got to go to a subset of that that's actually athletic.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the alternate to that? You know
I'll
what I'm
watch
saying?
all 5 of them compete.
But that's what they want. That was the argument because actually everybody said that. Everybody's like, okay, we'll have your own competition. No. I'm a woman. I want to compete with women.
Well, your
BS.
body structure says otherwise. You know what I'm
Exactly,
saying?
but that's the argument. They're saying
now-
no, you need to respect that.
From a governmental perspective, it's a non-issue. It's
Yeah,
the government just needs to stay out
Yeah,
of
the
it.
government has no place in that.
Well, the
If-
question with that came in, didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
sorry.
you're good. You're good.
Was the whole Trump thing, which he's
Oh,
like,
the official statement. that-
well, not just that, but it was more of like the government shouldn't pay for your surgery.
I agree.
I
with
agree.
you.
And yeah, but
Well,
that was a big issue.
He also
Should
made
be.
the official. He was going to make that official thing, saying the federal government acknowledges that there is male and female, and it's based on biological. So he was going to make it like an official thing, saying the government identifies you as this and this.
It needs to be. There's no way on God's green earth that there's 75 genders.
You know, a jail tried to put a transgender guy who didn't finish transitioning into a female section of the jail, and of course, what do you think he was doing?
Shocker.
Well, yeah, it was just so I think that's what really goes on there with the government part.
Mm-hmm.
They want you to pay for that, just like
Oh, well, yeah,
because
of course.
do you know like Medicaid they pay for lipo?
Yeah.
Like
I did know that.
That
Oh,
blows,
I didn't know
gastric,
that.
and gastric bypass.
blows my mind. I'm like,
But I can justify that a lot more than I can justify reassignment.
exactly, but it's still something that you're like, no, it shouldn't be.
Oh,
so
no.
something that crazy, and then you're
Yeah.
like, it's just like, how much do you want? You just
Yeah.
want them to pay for everything.
Well, I mean, if we get on like what I think the government should spend on, we'd be here all night. Because
Oh, no, I
actually, I
agree.
could sum it up. Nothing.
There you go.
Real quickly, the government
take less of my money and spend less of it.
government has basically two jobs: fund your military, secure your borders. Outside of that, anything should be handled at the state or
The
local
full
level.
libertarian view.
Well, I'm a registered libertarian,
Yeah,
so
the
it
full
works.
libertarian. That is the
no, you just
textbook
want to keep
libertarian.
taking though. That's like
What about
civilians?
That's like even the roads when people are like, "What about the roads?" And they're like, "Look, we had roads before, okay? we found a
we
way.
had roads way before they were
Yeah,
government
we
funded.
found a way." The government has enough patents.
I mean,
like, people
obviously-
don't know that the government has so many patents. They make a tremendous amount of money without taxes.
Yeah.
Well, not even
Right.
that though. But my whole thought process is, I mean, they're not really doing a good job on the roads anyway. Have y'all been in New Orleans?
Well, that's
That's
what
Louisiana
I work
in
in
general.
I work in New Orleans, like uptown and midtown.
Dude, when I'm on the
ridiculous.
phone with him and he's uptown and
Oh,
stuff
you
like
hear?
that. The van, everything's shaking. I'm like, did you
I
wreck?
didn't-
He's
I
like,
didn't
no, I
see
You
didn't.
know the
that
worst part
coming.
about it is, uptown is one of the richest parts of the city.
They won't spend the money there.
Hey, technically, all of New Orleans except for the East is rich now because of
Well, I mean-
gentrification. They kicking us darkies out, tossing everybody in the East.
But dude, I was
Candy's not wrong.
so I go all over the place, right? I went out to the east and some of these houses and areas that like what do you call it? What's that area right there?
I don't know. What's that area?
Yeah, it's hard. It's
in the East?
It's going toward. I guess podcast people ain't gonna realize what I'm talking about anyway. But
no,
anyway,
yeah.
it's an area that is predominantly black and has been for a long time.
Yeah.
And lately, I've been going around there, and you get these like hipster white people who are moving in there, and I'm like,
I like,
looking around like,
never in my 30 years of life I thought I'll be driving around the city and I'll see white people on Eagle. I'll see white people on Apple. Like white people
walking
on,
down the street,
White
like
people-
shopping and stuff.
white people on Holly Grove. Like I told my mom the other day, so I was like, "Mom, they got white people."
They're like, it's so
in New
cultural
Orleans.
around.
It seemed like,
Well, not
what?
even that, dude. Like, I remember passing Martin Luther King, and they're just like,
Oh.
"Oh, this is so pretty." I'm like, "Why? You, come on, you don't really. Come on. I need to save you right now."
Quick, I'll save you.
Right, like the fact that there's an American city where you feel safe on MLK. Like in Baton Rouge, we don't even have an MLK. We have the MLK Center near Gus Young. Guess what? I'm not going to be at 12
Yeah,
at night.
exactly.
MLK building on Gus Young. I'm
But you
not
see,
going there.
what's that? Dave Chappelle said. He said when you go to the middle of his neighborhood, you look out a corner and there's a baby on the corner. He said that's when you know you're in a bad neighborhood. It's 2:00 in the morning. There's a baby on the corner. But yeah, you're right. Like I'm going to these areas and I'm like, I get it because they think they're like they believe like I'm helping the neighborhood and stuff. I'm like, man, all these people don't want you here.
That's the funny thing. It's only happening in the black communities, though. Like it's not
Facts.
because it's not happening in the Latino community. The Latino community has that locked down, and I really think because they're willing to go to larger lengths than some people. Like they'll get a car that has nothing on it, like no
Well, you
wheels,
know,
nothing, push it in your driveway. But
What
hey,
a lot of other communities do is, they pool their money together. Like I had an Asian friend of mine broke it down for me today because,
Versailles out in the east.
yeah, like I have a cousin that's Filipino. In Baton Rouge, there's a huge Filipino community. You go to New Orleans, there's a huge Vietnamese community. They will funnel all the resources together, and it's like a little lottery they have. with people that are Mexican or Guatemalan, Honduran. Like they will build up their own. They go off Sherwood, North Sherwood, and BR. Like there's like little spots. It look like little Tijuana, and after a while, you give it a couple generations, they're gonna start thriving.
Well, that's like
You know what I'm saying?
off of Williams. Like right now, if you drive up and down Williams, nothing but Latino restaurants.
Yeah.
Nothing but like Latino stores.
So the Hispanic community.
Yeah, and
took
like
over that
in the
entire
apartments right there.
area. The mayor,
that's all
I
of
think the
them.
mayor of Kenner is now Hispanic.
And it's like
Yep.
at first it was like a couple blocks, and now when you drive, like I said, I'm a Cox cable guy, so when I'm installing cable, when I'm in that area, I know I'm installing
Well,
for
see,
Latino.
now I've
100%.
heard of this. Now, we haven't seen it in New Orleans and Louisiana very much, but I've heard some areas that, kind of like how we're saying, like this area is like mostly Hispanic
Oh,
now.
mhm.
This area is predominantly this area is predominantly that. Like, we haven't seen the Muslim imprint. Like, I hear about it. I hear in some cities there's some areas where they're like pretty much, no, you can't come around here.
I wouldn't say
I
it's like
haven't seen
that.
it, though.
I served with a Muslim guy. He's a good friend of mine.
I grew up with my best friend was Muslim growing up.
He's from
He was.
I know, it's just that
Well, his dad. I should say his dad was Muslim. His mom was Catholic.
he and his family are from Pakistan, but they live in Oakland. And he's asked me to come over there, or if I'm ever in the area to stop by or whatever. So I don't know about the whole staying out thing. I haven't.
That's what I said. I haven't seen it. I've heard stuff
I mean,
about
it,
it,
like
but I haven't.
the
yet.
community,
I'm wondering.
communities are there. I mean, could they have businesses
Well,
set
that's-
up?
in the northern states, we've
some of
heard
the
like,
congressmen, Ilhan Omar and Rashida
Yeah.
Tlaib and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Well, they're saying like their areas that people have said some stuff. I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Like
I
I
got
said,
you.
I don't live there. Can't say
I
that.
read a
Never
couple
been there visited.
articles, and I'm not going to quote these articles. I mean, I'm not going to source them because I don't know how true they are. I didn't look too far into it. I just was interested to read how they couldn't go in, like, white people couldn't go in certain areas. Muslims legit have guns and stuff like, no, you're not coming on the.
They had their own. There was a claim
Police was
that
not
there was a
doing
claim
anything.
that in Ilhan Omar's area or something
That was hers?
that they made. I think it was in her area that they made their own like police force within their community
Is
because
that
they were
supposed to
doing.
be some kind of like sanctuary city?
No, they were doing Sharia. They were doing Sharia law, and they were circumventing. The claim was that they were doing Sharia law. They had their own law enforcement. They don't call 911. They deal with their own little
I got you.
internal force. They were holding their own courts and stuff like that, and they were just leaving the government completely out. The concern was people were saying they're pretty much running their own little country in the country.
I mean,
That's
that
what people were claiming.
sounds good to me.
So that
Outside
was,
the street,
Well, it sounds good to you until, like I said, they're not letting
outside the
people
Sharia
in.
law, of course.
Yeah,
but see, that's what I'm saying. The problem was the Sharia law, them running their own little government, and
I
then
got it.
as they expand, they take more seats in Congress.
Yeah.
and then that's see, this is the debate I had someone else when you put complete pacifism in that, like, well, they're not hurting anyone. Yeah, but that's perfect way to how do you can invade a whole country that way without ever having to use a gun.
I mean,
If you could just everybody can come in.
You could, but even at the same time, even in small cities, you're not going to reproduce, like suburban white people. You know what I'm saying? It's just
What you mean?
like if you're worried about them getting like all the votes or whatever.
Well, they did.
Things like
That's
that.
the claim was that they pushed the white community out of the community.
Yeah.
They just made them feel so uncomfortable they naturally moved out.
I got you.
That was the claim. Like I said, this is all just
Yeah.
claim.
Yeah,
I haven't
I
seen
got
it.
you,
I
yeah.
can't say. There's people saying this is happening.
Yeah, because I ain't gonna lie, like white people are run like fast as hell.
Yeah.
Like you look at Central Incorporating, that was
Yeah.
white flight.
Kenner when I was growing up. Kenner was like the wealthy white people lived out there. Kennebra,
Kennebra.
you know, they were from Kennebra. Yeah. So now it's like. You mean little Mexico, or I mean
Yeah.
people say that, but actually it's more like Honduran and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
like the front of Kenner and the center of Kenner is really all Latinos.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
back
My
of
wife's
Kenner is
Honduran,
still
I
where
know.
like the white people are,
Yeah.
where the gates and security's at. You
Yeah.
know, they're sticking back there still, but
I actually work right off Veterans in Kenner. So.
oh yeah.
They made it to the non-rich section of Metairie out that way. You know what I'm saying?
That's the place to be, though. I mean,
Yeah.
right outside of the city, so you're not really.
I live in Old Metairie, so
Yeah.
I'm not wealthy. But
I've been in some houses in Old Mary. That was one house, and like this lady, I did not see a single regular picture until I went upstairs. Every portrait was hand painted. I was like,
I told him the other day.
Jesus, bro, and like every
That's how you know you made it.
every member of the staff looked like me. I feel like I was in like a bad scene from Get Out.
This lady I went to the other day, she had like a 10-foot hand-painted portrait of her kids, and even the dog posing. And they're all wearing sports coats like Trump's kids. I mean, they're all like posing, and I was like, dude, I didn't know people really got these.
I had,
I was like,
I had this big house about the size of my street almost, man. And I had to go knock on the door. So I'm knocking on the door. The woman opened. She's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Mark. I'm with Cox. You had an appointment with us?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "May I come in?" She's like, "Sure." She goes, "Peasant." I was like,
She's really
"What?"
told me.
I was
Peasant.
like, "Peasant."
What?
I was like,
He thought she said pissant.
I was like, okay. She called me peasant a few more times. I'm just like, damn, like that threw me off. I'm like, 18th century.
By that point, I just would have trolled her the whole time.
I thought about it, but my supervisor.
Ask her to use her bathroom. no, I want to use your bathroom.
All right.
I've lucked up. I haven't had that kind of experience with anybody that I work for.
It's funny.
been
Where did y'all grow up? Let me ask that, because I know you said BR.
Laranger.
Where?
Laranger.
The big city of Laurent.
Oh,
Really? It's like 15 minutes.
He lives in Metairie.
Oh, I got you. I got you.
Grew up in
It's,
Gretna, lived in Metairie.
You know where Hammond is?
Yeah.
You take the interstate past Hammond, past Tickfall, you get off in Independence.
So
keep going.
It's the woods.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
The booty.
Yeah.
And I know where he grew up.
They horses, tractors.
Yeah.
So like, what I'm saying,
Tractor school
when
was,
I
like,
was
legit.
growing up, like, I didn't know any white people. I grew up on the West Bank. I went to public school. Okay, I mean, I didn't know any
That's
white
bank.
Don't know about that, man.
I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew Asian people, Spanish people, and white people. That was it. I was the token white guy.
2 streets from Cable Street. And
Yeah.
I'll never forget, I've told you this story a few times. My dad got me a basketball goal for Christmas. my
Everybody
birthday.
pulled up in your driveway.
That's how it was at first. And so my dad got
First
worried and he
until-
concreted it, right? So one morning we wake up, the goal's gone.
Oh yeah.
Concrete's cut straight through. Didn't wake any of us up. We found it a couple months later on Cable Street. My dad's like, "You want to make a report?" I said, "No, they earned it." I'm like, they cut it. They took it off. I'm like, we didn't hear them. I mean, they earned that, in my opinion. I'm like, look, they stopped coming to my house now. Like, I couldn't even play. Like, they
See,
took
I was on the opposite side of that. So I jokingly tell people I grew up on the white side of Florida Boulevard in BR. So like I grew up in.
Back then, I mean, that's BR was like that.
Shit, it's still like that now.
Katrina. Well, I can't say that. I just know, like during Katrina, I went to BR and the people there were like, the look on the people's faces, because a lot of African American people went up there, you know, and it was just like the white people around there were like they had this look on their face, and I'm like, really? I'm like, I'm not from BR. I've only been to BR a few times at that point.
Yeah, but no,
And I was like, wow.
that's real. Cause like I grew up like in South Shore, but I grew up close to the Cedar Crest side. Cause like my mom's a country girl. She from St. Helena. The whole deal was I never grew up in a bad neighborhood. You're not growing up in the hood. So she did what she had to do. My folks split, and that's where I grew up at. So like I was a token black kid walking from the bus stop, passing up like Confederate flags bigger than the side of a school bus. You know
How
what
do
I
you feel
mean?
like you were treated?
So like I was treated like good growing up, but the crazy part was, so I also having like a mother who's like hella overprotective, yeah. So like, as I like got older, she finally admitted to me like about 4 or 5 years ago. She was like, it wasn't just me like not letting you go places in the neighborhood. She was like, baby, like the elderly white people were also telling me not to let you go anywhere because somebody called the police on you. Because they just would have seen a big black kid just walking up and down the street. You know what I mean? Which is crazy, but I mean, I had my issues. Like I've been stopped on foot in a car. One time I got stopped in my mom's car. She was teaching me how to drive when I was 18, driving down Sherwood Boulevard for doing 27 and a 35 at 12:30 at night. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's when I was doing that. They told us that this one guy said like if it's like real late at night and anything about it suspicious, he's like just call it meandering. Say you're meandering. Do you live in this neighborhood? No. Then you're meandering through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Well,
I was like,
the funny thing is, you remember where like South Choctaw is at? Mm-hmm. All right, so I had a relative who had like a business, and it was a car shop off Choctaw. So this one particular night, I was like, "Hey, well, you drive?" Boom, boom, boom. So we driving. Well, we had to hop on Sherwood Boulevard, so we crossed Florida. They had that Albertsons that was still there across the street from the Walgreens. So they had a cop car just sitting there. My mom gave a play-by-play beautifully, like on some John Madden and 98 shit. So she's sitting there. She's like, all right. He pulled out. Yep, he pulled out. He's running the plates right now. I'm just looking at him. I'm like, huh? It's like, yeah, he's running the plates. And then the light got a little bit brighter. Like, okay. About a quarter of a mile, it's going to pull you over. Pulled us over. Whoop, whoop. Get out the vehicle. It's like, hey, baby, look, you fine. Boom, boom, boom. So I walked to the car. And he was giving me like a third degree, and My dumb ass. I'm sitting there and he's like, y'all been stopped before? I was like, a couple of times due to racial profiling. He just looks at me. And like, I'm standing at the front of the car. So like, 18-year-old me realized, I'm like, oh shit, I'm in front of the camera. I'm like, hey, you want me to empty my pockets? He's like, nah, you ain't got to do that. I'm like, you sure? Like, I can empty my pockets. So while he's telling me no, I'm emptying my pockets, putting everything on the hood. I bunny-eared my pockets. This is like spring 07, bro. I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, not tonight. So while all this is going on, we're talking. I'm telling him it's my mom's car, the name, where we live at. Another car pulls up on the median, so now they got a spotlight on my mom in the car. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, bro, like I really could have got my ass beat tonight. Because the Circle K on Corsi, my freshman year, we had a game against Central, and so we go to the Circle K to go get some ice. We had my grandpa's old Bonneville that somebody cut the line to the AC. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, so we went to go get some ice. Well, we walking out. My mom gets to the car first. There's 2 cops outside. Dude grabs me in the chest, throws me against the wall. And before I can say anything, like, why don't you shut the hell up? I'm like, what the fuck did I do? He's like, just shut up. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, this cop is like right here. The partner right there is trying to tell him like, it's you got the wrong guy. And I'm looking at my mom in the car, just looking like, can y'all let my son go? They had blocked her car off, so she couldn't even back up. It was a black guy, I think, with like some jeans and a button up that had robbed the store. I was a black kid in school khakis and some red and white Jordans. Like, and I had a cup of ice in my hand. Like, who gonna rob a Circle K with a cup of ice?
Where'd you get that ice from?
I was just like,
what kind of cup was that?
I'm like, damn, son. So yeah, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was treated good. I mean,
If you had a Circle K cup, you'd been like, damn.
Well, if it was racetrack, you know what I'm saying, that would have been over. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? Like I had my issues, but you know what I'm saying? So that's why like when people start like, why are you always talking about this? Why are you talking about that? I'm like, because I've almost been killed because of my complexion. I've almost been beaten and arrested. Like, luckily, I haven't had anything physical happen to me, but I've had like.
Well, that's what I tell people. Like everybody's situation is different. You have to take everybody like their situation because people tell me stuff. They're like, "Well, you're white." You know, I'm like, dude, I didn't know any white. I didn't know how it was to be around white people until way later in my life.
Right.
Like, I just didn't know them. All my friends, and I got called "Hey white boy."
I was about to say that's the classic line.
I didn't have a name. I was just white boy. Hey white boy.
Yeah, I kind of went from like crazy white boy because I bit someone on the jungle gym. And that's the
Yeah, that's the other thing. They said, man, don't mess with that dude. He probably part of the what was it, the trench coat mafia.
Yeah,
like for real, really?
well, no, like,
that way.
I was getting beat up, and like I just got like I kept getting beat up. I got tired of it. I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna just fight anywhere I can. I bit the fuck out of this one dude, and ever since then, I'm like, no, don't fuck with him. He bites. He crazy.
Hey,
and so
if you get the tag as a crazy white boy, nobody's.
And that's how I felt. I'm like, I felt good about that. And then I went from that to the, oh, he's the one with the guy that got the games. He got the video games. We going over there to play.
Right.
So I came the nerdy white boy who everyone came over to play with. So either way, I was good with it.
Yeah. And even then, they're probably like, hey, man, look, we can go play Halo, but he got hands. So just chill.
No, with the hand, he got teeth. Like, they're like, nah, he got the teeth. Like, because the buck teeth, that's the thing. I had this.
Don't even watch his hands. Just watch that mouth. He's coming for you.
Like, he ain't an easy win, bro.
Bro, like, if he starts growling, just go.
No, but I just, like I said, I tell people, like, don't ever assume someone's situation. You never know.
Right.
You don't know. That black guy could have grew up in the whitest neighborhood.
Well, the cop brutality
that white
thing,
dude could have grew up in the blackest neighborhood.
The cop brutality thing always gets me because I'm like, man, that's just, like, I don't really see it as the race part anymore. I really see it as, like, cops not knowing what to do. Like, they really need more training.
So, sure. I see, I was a cop 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I've got some perspective on this. I quit being a cop because of some things that I didn't like. Not saying true. Like, there was a lot of it. I went into it with this movie kind of mentality. Like, I want to be a good guy, be the hero, do this good stuff for the people. And then I found it was real political.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw a little bit of both sides, okay? I saw people that are like, man, this is fucked up. I met some people in jail that were like, dude, like, I met some detectives and stuff that I was like, man, that dude should be in jail. Oh, like, yeah. That dude does some fucked up stuff. They work on stats way too hard, and I'm like, if you work on stats, people are going to cheat the stats. They're going to find a way to cheat the stats, even if they have to arrest somebody falsely. So I'm like, so yeah, does it exist? Absolutely. Yeah. Now, there are a lot of good cops out there that really want to do a good thing. They're probably not going to be in positions of rank, though, but because that's not the ones that get promoted.
Yeah.
But I do also see the other side of it, because I have been in situations where you're doing everything right and someone's yelling police brutality, trying
no,
to
yeah.
entice you to fight them. And you're
I
like,
get
dude, I'm
that.
just trying to talk to you. And they're like, fuck you, motherfucker. Blah, blah. You know, they start cursing you out and stuff. And you're like, dude, seriously, like, I'm not even trying to arrest you. I'm literally just going to have a conversation with you and probably let you go. Like, we're just going to talk real quick. And then you go, man, fuck you, man. I know how y'all are. You know, they really want to get you to touch them.
I think the only way to fix that is to actually get the police involved in the community a lot more than it is.
That's how it used to be, but now it's like they don't want you in the same community you police in.
Well,
I think certain neighborhoods aren't sending people to be cops. And I think that's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
or at least a problem. You know what I'm saying? If you go and patrol this neighborhood and you know everybody there, well, it's highly unlikely that something bad's going to happen. You know what I mean?
we had some initiatives like that when I was a
Mm-hmm.
cop. They were pushes to get officers more involved.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. First of all, people
it's-
would not talk to you. Half the time they wouldn't even call.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was one problem. Second problem is a lot of these officers are getting put in areas too big for them to
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
for sure.
Like there was a couple times officers were like, "Well, I like to walk my beat. I want to go walk my beat." Problem was they're like, "No, we need you in your car because if you get a call and you're walking your beat, now you got to run back to your car,
Yeah.
and now you got to go try to get to that call." So they're like, "No, this is your area. You need to be driving. You need to be moving." So that's all things that really affected that a lot.
Yeah. It's by no means an everybody wins.
That's what I'm saying. It's such a complex issue because, like I said, I've looked at it from both sides, and I'm like, I would love to figure out a way to fix this problem. Is it would take an enormous amount of money
Yeah.
and
One
resources.
thing that blew my mind was the fact that cops only get drug tested one time. It's not a regular basis thing. I'm like,
No, we did. I did. I got drug tested all the
a
time.
lot of departments don't.
I
I'm
did.
sure it's by incident. You know.
What the majority of departments in the United States does not get drug tests on a day or on a monthly basis or anything like that. I'm like, you're talking about the people who arrest them for this.
Yeah, probably the department.
The ones that go, yeah, I'm getting you for coke and what's that? We're gonna take that too. We're just gonna, we're gonna say you had a pound, but you had 3 pounds. I'm just gonna take.
You didn't hear about them JP deputies that they went to drop off. Like I heard about this. I don't know if it's true. I heard. I heard two.
You're a JP. You just was like,
I heard about these 2 JP deputies that went to the evidence holding or something like that. Apparently there was a bunch of money there. The money disappeared, and so did the deputies. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. I heard that money disappeared, and they were ghosts.
Yeah.
So, like I said, given the opportunity and the right encouragement, anybody can become a bad guy, whether you're a good guy or not. Now, I think there is a problem right now with departments not standing behind good cops too, because that's a thing too.
Yeah, I can see that.
There are good cops out there that will get put under the bus by their rank.
What I think is bad about that is that your shitty cops will throw the good cop under the bus. You know what I mean? And the good cop's gonna have to either choose between this mentality where it's like, I have a problem with the back to blue mentality that a lot of people have because it's like, well, this cop is doing right. He's a cop. There's no bad. You know what I mean?
That mentality kind of reminds me of the Kavanaugh hearings and stuff like that when they're like all women should be believed.
Exactly.
Like no, you should look at everything on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
I'm like,
But
does
it's
the evidence support what this officer did? No.
But it's-
Okay.
Yeah.
Then.
Well, you
Let's say
think-
your coworker you're really close with, you find out he's in shady shit. It comes to you to have to not prosecute, but like to give him up basically, right? And either you do the wrong thing or you're a rat because there is no in between. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. When you were a cop, if you told
So,
another officer like
yeah.
that, you were done. Your career was
Exactly. And
done.
that's that
Cooperate.
mentality.
I mean, but it was going on in the department too. Okay,
I'm
you
sure
got
it goes
people
on in every
internally.
department.
I mean, I've had captains pull me aside like, "Hey man, I want you to give me some information." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Just keep a lookout for me." I'm like, "No way, man."
I couldn't be a cop. I couldn't do it.
But you think about it, like Back to Blue was basically a response to Black Lives Matter, which then turned into Blue Lives Matter and all that. Which I was never one of those people out running around saying Black Lives Matter yada yada, because I knew eventually it'd go from an organic saying that had love to a shitty political organization.
and that's what happened. Because you had the leaders that wanted to, when they brought up reparations, they wanted like white people to give up their homes and and there's a real article. I don't know if like real demands from
Yeah,
the
like give
leaders.
up all your stuff. I'm like, huh?
And like move out and let them move in. You go live where they
Well,
were.
the
I'm
funny
like,
thing is, a lot of the leaders from those groups were like nobodies before, and they just hijack things and then they're suddenly wealthy and stuff like that. It's like, really?
I think my biggest problem with Black Lives Matter was not the message that it was trying to convey to everyday people, right? I think there were injustices going on. I think some of the issues were racially motivated. What I don't believe, or what I don't like, is that it started with the whole hands up, don't shoot thing, right?
Yeah.
A few months later, we found out that that's not the case. He was definitely. We don't know to the extent that he was beating down the officer, but we know that he was beating down the officer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that goes even with the Trayvon Martin case, right? The reason Zimmerman got off is because forensic evidence showed that Zimmerman had the back of his head to the
Yeah,
concrete.
it was pretty. The angle of the shots and everything held up to his story
Right,
a little bit too hard.
I want to go on record. I'm not defending George Zimmerman. I think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
shitty
but
guy.
what do you think about the fact that everybody kept calling him white? I was like, he's not white. I'm like, he's not a white guy.
When it comes to cases like that, I try and stay out of. I try and stay out of the whole racially motivated argument as much as possible.
That's what I'm saying. People kept trying to draw it into that, and I'm like,
well, when you
you kept trying to make it black and white. I'm like, but
you're
he
trying
ain't
to draw
white.
that narrative, and the media does that, right? The media.
It's all about clicks.
I just had this discussion the other day. It's like, if you look at the talking heads of the media, in no way do they represent your average American. Fox News doesn't represent your average conservative. CNN probably doesn't represent your average, leftist liberal type. I mean, like I said, other than that dude on Facebook, I've met even my niece. She's technically my niece. We're about the same age. She leans more left than I do, but we'll talk all day long, back and forth, and have these discussions, right?
I wish I could get more. That's what I'm saying. We're having a hard time, but I really would like more liberals, like heavy liberals,
Like,
to come talk to us.
I'm gonna tell you the problem with that. I have one really left liberal friend, and just the other day he posted. He essentially justified the Antifa attack in Portland, right?
Yeah, that's one
So
of the
this
things
old
I've been talking
man,
about
this
lately.
old man was that. I don't know who he was. I don't know if he was carrying a swastika flag. There's no pictures of it, right? The only pictures I've seen is him walking in the crowd, and then it's got him with his face all bloody. He was beaten with a crowbar, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what your political affiliation is. That's not okay. You know what I'm saying?
Mob violence.
And he was just on Facebook.
No place.
He was just on Facebook praising the guys who did this because he's too much of a bitch to go and do it himself. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, he's going to praise this guy because he won't do it
Also,
himself.
all the guys doing it. It's like you're covering your face and you're joining into
Yeah.
a giant group of people. You're carrying a weapon because you are a
Yeah.
bitch. You would not
And then-
get into a fight with a person.
And then
You've probably never been in a fight.
And then he posted later, they threw the milkshake at, his last name's Go. He's a gay.
Andy, no. I know that whole story.
He's a gay Asian journalist.
They did a lot more just throw a milkshake out. And it wasn't a milkshake.
Well, it had like concrete mixed in it
mixed
or whatever,
concrete
right?
in it.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And he was like, "Oh, cowards! You shouldn't throw milkshakes."
And
then
they
he
hit him
was
with a
like, "Everybody else, blah blah blah," and then cowards, like you can't do that.
Yeah, so he's a conservative, gay Asian journalist.
Yeah.
Like, not like a hardcore journalist, just like a low.
Yeah, he's not. He's not a far right guy. As far
No,
as
he's
I'm
not.
concerned.
He's a little more towards centrist, actually.
Yeah, so
But
you,
he says
you
he does
basically just
identify
milkshake a gay Asian Ben Shapiro.
The weird
You know
thing was
what
like
I'm
they
saying?
Trying
hit
to
him.
bring it
They
to the
hit him.
yard,
So
bro.
they hit him with a pipe though and gave him a brain hemorrhage.
Yeah.
And this is the crazier part because like the police just didn't show up. They stole his GoPro camera
Uh-huh.
and they beat the shit out of him. He finally like gets away, bleeding, and he's all fucked up.
Yeah.
He gets to the police and he tells the police like they're like, "Do you need assistance?" And he's like, "Where the fuck were y'all?"
Yeah.
And he's like, he's recording it. He's like, "Where were y'all?" He's like, "I needed y'all. I needed y'all."
Well, that's going back to that far leftist mentality. It's hard to get because they're not about open discussion.
No,
They're
And
teaching
ideologies
to shut down
That-
all thoughts other than
It's
this.
exactly
Well,
what it is.
that's how it is. It's like if you don't agree with my opinion, you're obviously wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, no discussion.
Everybody wants to be right, and everybody does a
And
bang-up job
think
of
that's
strengthening their
I think that's
confirmation
odd
biases.
though. Everyone wants to be right, but there's the saying: if you always win, you don't learn anything. You're not
Nobody
improving.
wants to be uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever you sit down, you have conversations, and people are like, oh wait, stuff like that actually goes on. Everybody wants to live within their bubble.
Yeah, their
You know
echo
what I'm saying?
chamber. They
And,
want to listen to their echo chamber.
And,
for
and
sure.
it all started with the Trayvon case. Like I started shit posting literally when that case was going on because I was watching everybody that I knew on all sides of the equation
Yeah.
start to have drag out fights in person and on social media. You know what I'm saying? So like I remember like I was telling my white friends like I was that kid. What you mean? I was that kid walking around his neighborhood in a hoodie. Luckily for me, I didn't get attacked by a grown ass man.
Yeah.
I had to fight with my life. Now the part about the whole white thing. So this is the part that sucks. We lump we lump color and ethnicity all into the same bag when it should be separate. Like Zimmerman, what was he, Mexican?
He
was like half
some kind of
Mexican.
Some kind of
Hispanic.
Spanish.
Yeah, he was some type of,
He
what
was
I'm
also
saying? Like,
very active in the African American community.
Yeah.
In that community.
and so like he was what would be called a white Hispanic or white Latin, but the media use it as white, black, civil rights leader. I hate saying that. Like Al Sharpton, for all intents and purposes, within our community, like we really ain't rocking with Al Sharpton. Like Al Sharpton was a snitch. You know what I'm saying? Like Al Sharpton is just about Al Sharpton.
And he's gotten very
You know
rich
what I'm
off of the
Yeah,
black
you know what I
community.
mean. So
And
it's
has given back.
nothing. Like
Then he
with
pays taxes.
the whole Gina 6 situation, he showed up with some cameras that didn't love. Like going to certain parts of North Louisiana is like stepping into a time machine and going back to like
You ain't
pre-civil
lying.
rights era. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that was the whole deal, man. I feel like that's when cause I feel like the next fight was supposed to be socioeconomic.
I'm sorry, did you say Livingston Parish?
Hey, look, my
Wait,
childhood
wait.
neighborhood was a hop and a skip from LP.
That's more of like the meth area. That's
Oh,
not.
that's what I
No,
was
you know
saying.
they actually have a national
Federal
Klan
flags,
member
yeah.
headquarter in
Yeah, I
Denver.
bet he has no teeth because he cooks meth. I mean, when,
See, that's another one that like,
Heisenberg.
when you start talking about like the KKK
No,
and
that's not
stuff,
good.
it's like there's a lot of people out there that really believe like white people support the KKK. I'm like, dude, I've never met a person that openly supported the KKK, or even in a private conversation. I've never met one.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I have, and it's
Well, you're
weird
from up
because I met people who are homophobic, hate gays, all that. I
Oh, I've met all that. I've met
and
that.
then like when you meet the ones that are really like, I met one dude who was really part of the KKK. I didn't believe him. I thought he was a jokester. I'm like the whole like, he's like I gotta tell you something. I'm in the K. I'm like funny, bro.
Bro,
Like, come on.
David Duke got like 60,000 votes last
Yeah.
election, so that shit's real.
And so I'm just like I'm
I'm not
like,
saying it don't make sense.
Yeah, no, I get
I'm just
that.
saying
yeah.
like
it
they
got
try to
down-
paint it across
it got
the
down
board.
to the
I'm
point
like,
to where he's like follow me, and he opens his closet, and I'm like, oh fuck, like oh fuck, like I gotta go.
well, like the one big thing was like a lot of people are trying to paint conservatives like the KKK's with y'all. It's like, but not really though, because a lot of conservatives actually support Israel and stuff like that.
It's because of the Trump election when David Duke came out and gave that
Yeah.
endorsement to Trump.
Well, to be fair, Trump with that whole Charlotte, he butchered the whole Charlottesville incident. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
He
I'm not
butchered
saying
a lot.
he's not pro KKK. I don't think, but he did not help his case in that scenario.
But what
Yeah,
Trump
he did
also
some bad wording.
Yeah,
Now, but a lot of people were playing a butchered audio clip of that.
Yeah.
And when I heard the full unedited audio clip, I was like, I can see how it could be taken that way. I was like, but he did put in the clarification. He does not support the racist agenda of like the.
What I
some
think
people
that
there.
what I really think it was is that he didn't have all the information that he wanted, and instead of jumping on these people before he knew the facts, he said this to. It's a bunch of gibberish, right? So that way later when it came out, he could be like, "Oh well, I said some of these people did this and some did
I have
that."
to say, because Trump is known for this, and I'll openly say that as much as people want, he needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
A lot.
there's
If
times
Trump
when
He
stays
needs
off
to
of
shut his
Twitter,
mouth.
if Trump stays off of Twitter from now until 2020, he's got the real.
If he
Yeah,
would,
he-
no, he's gonna win already. Like
Did y'all watch the Democratic?
I missed it, but
I watched.
all right, look, this is my whole thing. All right, literally,
Puto comandre.
you know why Obama won the first election? Kid you not, I had a friend tell me because all right, this guy is mixed and he's insanely like in the right situation, he passed with a white guy. Some of his more rednecky friends, for lack of a better way to say it, literally said, and I quote, "I'd rather put a nigga in the White House before I put some dumb bitch in the White House," talking about Sarah Palin. America isn't going to put a woman in office, and America is not going to put a minority in office that isn't light enough from a complexion standpoint. Like, we're all about the aesthetics. Like, it is what it is.
which actually, go ahead, finish.
Yeah, when we put in somebody that's like Wesley Snipes black or like 12 a.m. black, we've made it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's,
Well, okay, so this was brought up recently because in the debates, Kamala Harris has been doing very well, right? Okay, so somebody actually said because she jumped all over Joe Biden for some stuff he did years ago.
with that comment he made.
Yeah, so it was about segregationists working with segregationists
busing
and stuff
act,
like
yeah.
that, and the busing stuff. But people started snapping back, and a black guy actually started this. He clapped back at Kamala Harris and said, "Yeah, but you're not African American." He's like, "You're Jamaican and Indian." He's like, "You don't actually have any heritage rooted in
she
what we're
herself
talking
is
about."
personally responsible for locking up more black men due to the crack epidemic in the 90s than every Democrat.
I was about to say
put
she's
together.
actually split within the black community. She's split. The DNC, by not putting up the right candidate again in 2020, is just going to hand it off to Trump.
I can see.
But my one thing with Trump was, I feel like he used sexism and racism to get elected. Like he played and toyed with America's emotions, and it was fucked up, but it was genius.
Well, it was that, and it was also like, honestly, I feel like if it would have been anyone but Hillary, it could have went.
It couldn't have been Bernie. And then this is the thing with Trump too, and this is another reason why people feel like Trump is racist. That god awful black sheriff officer from like Milwaukee, like.
Hey, I like Sheriff Clark. All right.
All right. This is my thing. This is my thing with Sheriff Clark. I won't ever forget.
Sheriff Clark's hardcore, man.
You remember the Freddie Gray case? It was in Baltimore.
He got choked out for the cigarettes. Is that
Yeah. No. That was Terrence Crutcher.
Okay.
In New York. Freddie Gray basically got killed by somebody. Now the last group of people he was around was some cops.
Right.
Now the cops all got acquitted, but his death was ruled a homicide. Sheriff Clark is at the podium. We got great news out of Baltimore. The cops got. I'm like, what? Why? Like if I close my eyes, I feel like I'm listening to like an old white guy in Sheridan somewhere. You know what I'm saying? About to give me a plug of Copenhagen. You know?
You think he's the Black Klansman?
He might be.
I respect him because he breaks the status quo. You know what I'm saying?
He breaks a lot of status. He is a status quo. Like if Uncle Ruckus was a tall, slender black man, coming from a guy that gets accused of being an Uncle Tom every day, that's on his Uncle Tom. I'm like Clark.
So
that may not even be it. I think it's his name.
Actually, you're a perfect person to ask this question. Do you feel like a lot of people in the black community don't exactly agree with some of the broad opinions of the black community, but maybe feel like they're pressured to feel that way?
It could have. I mean, loaded question. But yeah, I'm not gonna say it. It depends on.
I've just always wondered that because I mean I can't say, but I mean even in my community, right? If you live in the South. And you're white, you are pressured to think a certain way.
No, it's true. You know what I'm saying? But it also depends on the person's experiences, where they're from, and even the educational level. Like with me, he can tell you within one calendar day, I can piss off just as many black and white people with saying one statement.
Oh, I can tell. Dude, I've had you on Facebook for maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you're my favorite person.
He's trending.
Right.
I swear, like, it's just so funny because when I first saw him, I'm like, wow, he got a lot of I'm like, I wonder how he's doing that. And then I see the stat, I'm like, oh.
If I wake up in the morning and post the sky's blue, it's gonna be like 50 comments, 100 reactions.
That's the thing. They're waiting.
A lot reflects blue.
A lot of people that comment, it's the same people comment too. But I noticed that I feel like they just wake up and looking for you. Like, what the fuck did this motherfucker
Bro,
say?
I could be out having a beer and like somebody walk up like, hey, bro, I enjoy your social media. You know
Well, I feel like you're like, man, it's such a good morning. Fuck you! How dare you say that, you motherfucker? It's a horrible morning. It's like just because of all the shit you said, and like they're pissed off from the other post.
No, but that's true. But I
used to get a lot of that. I had to stop. I was like, I gotta chill out.
No, I've been trying to. I've actually cut back. But it's just if you think about it, man, between confirmation bias and feeling like different pressures to like kind of not assimilate but to agree, because you don't want to be the one to go against the grain and be wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm done. Like I was
bad.
just wrapping up. No, you.
But
good.
Identity politics is gonna be like the death of us. If it's not the Federal Reserve, if it's not the government, it's identity politics. Which I mean, the two go hand in hand.
No, that's facts. We all vote on gender, on race, on religion, and on party lines. And because the thing is like each community is so hell bent on protecting their own people. So honestly, and to a great extent, I guess there is pressure for all black people to agree because it's the same in the Hispanic community, same in the white community.
Well, it's not just that.
I'll tell you what though. Sorry, go ahead.
It's also like I didn't vote last election for Trump or Hillary. I was like, they're both pieces of shit.
I voted for Gary Johnson.
I do that a lot, and I'm like, damn, I didn't realize that was an option because at that time I was like fresh out of high school, you know. You only hear Trump and Hillary. I'm like,
well, I voted for Hillary.
I'm like,
I'm sorry.
Because they forced us to vote for two parties. We had a founding father say, "Stay away from a party system."
yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
so, but I remember being at work and my manager goes, "Hey, you want some time to go vote?" I was like, I stopped and went, Nah, we're probably fucked anyway.
Well, see, that's what I was saying. There's theories out there that say that like no civilization can continue on forever because naturally it'll pull itself apart. Like they do. And that's a theory. And I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I think that's right. I think at some point people naturally branch off, get their different opinions, they all break off, and there's going to be fighting. You're going to fight, you're going to end up tearing your country apart, you're going to end up tearing your civilization apart, you're going to end up tearing the world apart, whatever. It's going to happen. I'm like, and I don't care what you do, you're not going to bring them back together. Yeah. I was like, honestly, at a certain point, I was even like, man, this country probably would survive a little bit longer if we just went ahead and divided it into conservative and whatever.
No, just break it off by region.
Eventually,
I say
that would fall apart again.
They got to live by different laws anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. America's already kind of like that. I mean, if you go to certain cities, it's very conservative. But, you go to certain places, it's very liberal.
No, you could break up America into provinces, is like what Canada does easily. Cause you think about even historically, we're still fighting the same shit. The South still want state rights.
Let's say, or we could just have the 50 states.
I don't.
Right.
That's another thing too. I hate that thing when they're like, oh, the South fought for slavery and like the North fought against it. I'm like,
that shit was for money.
Exactly. I'm like, you know why Abraham Lincoln did that, right? Or released his slaves.
Cripple the South.
Well, not just that, but like for them to have backup. Like he was like, yo. Oh, nice. I
was like, man, he really meant that.
Like, y'all want freedom? Fight them.
So
that's really how it
No,
went.
black people were used as pawns politically since the beginning of time.
I'm glad you brought that up because I asked somebody, I was like, look, I'm not a historian on the Civil War and stuff like that. I've read some stuff about it, but I have some skeptical things I'm skeptical about. I'm like, why did he do that after? I was like, if it was really about that, wouldn't you have announced that before the
But I had to
fight?
tell a group of high school students that shit wasn't about slavery.
You want to know why?
The Civil War itself wasn't about. It didn't seem to be about slavery until about halfway through, and
When
then Lincoln was like, "Oh, we need
kinda
England's help. We're just trying to free slaves because England did it in 1807."
So why are conservatives still preaching that it was? And
bro, so funny shit. Funny shit. All right, so with slavery, South wanted to break off. They want to do their own thing. All right, and truth be told, the reason why the North even won, they had more technology. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's really the crux of it. They didn't depend on slave labor. They had industry. Mm-hmm. But anyway, black people went from being Republican over the course of time to voting Democrat. So, like, I had that post, I was joking about reparations. I was like, so when you have a group of black people talking about, hey, we should get reparations, and you got Republicans like, oh, nah, F that. Why y'all bringing up old stuff? We didn't have slaves, boom, boom. But then y'all turn around and be like, look what Lincoln did for y'all. Remember the Dixiecrats? But wait. What happened to the whole idea of a great party switch over the course of time? Because it's starting to happen again. Like, it went from Republicans and Democrats kind of switching ideologies. So now you have the rise of libertarians. You know what I'm saying? Which, about the not voting part, a guy I know at the gym, I legit told him he got pissed. So I told him he had like a defeatist attitude because he was like, well, I mean, I voted for Hillary because I knew if I would have voted third party, it would have wasted the vote. I said, you realize if everybody who said that voted for a third party candidate, the election would have been split and we probably would have had somebody from like a Green Tea Party or a Libertarian Party.
It doesn't bother me that Gary Johnson didn't get the election.
Oh, no, it doesn't
What
bother
bothers me is that he didn't have a platform to get into the debates.
He was starting to crack it, but they changed the the freaking parameters for him to get into the debate.
As a libertarian, I cannot vote for him in the primaries. So because I cannot vote for him in the primaries, my vote does not count to get him on the debate stage in the finals.
We got to change it.
Two things
I agree completely.
One, it's the way history is taught in high school. Because one thing that I wanted to bring back was the Civil War part. Mm-hmm. When I was in high school, I graduated in 2015. When I was there, we were taught the Civil War was fought because of slavery.
We've been teaching that for generations, and victors shape history. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's all history's taught is, hey, black people vote Democrat. Mm-hmm. Civil War was about slavery,
and that's another thing.
But even in the American Revolution, it was the same thing. Uh-huh. Like the South offered us more money. Civil War, South offered us more money. I'm saying us, but my forefather, they offered black people more money. The North offered freedom. American Revolution, America was like, hey, you help us get our freedom from the monarchy. Meanwhile, Europe was like, hey, you tired of picking cotton? Hey, you help us win. And that goes into the national anthem with that lost third verse, which came up during the Colin Kaepernick fiasco. The side note, the Betsy Ross shoes ain't racist because Quakers hated slavery too. You know what I'm saying?
It's like, the Declaration of Independence, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Thomas Jefferson
I'm
had
gonna come back
three.
to that.
He had three, if not more, major attempts to abolish slavery when he wrote the Constitution.
And his side piece was his slave.
Yeah, there was separate.
Yeah.
The leader of the southern, the leader of the
Yeah.
Southern Army hated slavery.
Well, his
He only
slave-
fought
his-
because his family
yeah.
was on the
Exactly.
Well,
he
his
did not
slaves-
agree with it at all.
His slaves also were like
They
best
tore his
friends
freaking
with his
statue
dog,
down.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't agree. I didn't agree with him tearing the statue down. I'm like, look,
Hold
first
on.
of all, he didn't agree with slavery. Y'all tore his statue down. He was still an American soldier.
You know why I
And
hate
I'm
the
like-
fact that they tore it down? Because we tearing down historical reminders. And one day when I'm on a damn walker, I'm going to hear somebody tell their damn kid that we ain't have a racist history. No, F that. I want Jackson
So,
Square intact.
not just
I
that.
want every rebel flag over with Carolina's damn
One
state
thing that
capitol building.
really like drives me up the wall was the Trail of Tears. Have you heard about that?
what about it?
In the new history books, we did not do no Trail of Tears. The Indians gave us the land, and they chose to go.
That's true.
They,
Is
A
it?
friend of mine took a picture of his girls in middle school on the East Coast. That's true. They're but that I can say from experience, any teacher worth they salt don't teach from the textbook. But see, the thing is, whatever standardized testing is asking. Now, I'll be honest, it's probably part of the reason why I don't have a job anymore. We was teaching the real history. Columbus was brought in on war crimes. This is what slavery was. Matter of fact, I think I was listening to the Rogan podcast, and I never really noticed it. Only like 400,000 slaves came to America from the
Yes.
Middle Passage. Because people forget. Reason why Haiti and Dominican and like all the
Let me
islands
get
have
that,
black
'cause this-
people.
America
This-
was
The
scared.
boat stop was different. Hey, y'all got to get off
and
right
this,
there.
And this is something I heard too, was that after the Civil War, this could be connected. I've heard this from somebody, and I've never been able to see if I can verify or not. But they said that Lincoln actually started filling ships and sending slaves out of the country after Civil
So
War.
okay,
I've never
so
heard that.
I have heard.
It's-
That's what I've heard.
it was never carried through, but it is it's true.
That he was
So
like, 'cause
he
he
wanted
wasn't.
a
It
plan.
wasn't that he was like.
He felt-
I wanna
well,
help you. Well, go ahead.
If you read like his letters, he was very guilty after the Civil War. So before we go any further, I gotta explain that. When the Civil War started, right? There's a code of law that you can't blockade your own people, right? Well, the Civil War was fought because Lincoln still considered the South his people, right? Well, by blockading those people and starving them out, basically, that's a war crime, right? And that kind of mentality, it drove Lincoln almost crazy because he felt guilty. He felt responsible for the whole war. Whether he was or not, it's debatable depending on who you talk to. But yeah, I think it was kind of his like reparations, like, well, we'll just send you all back, right? Which we look back now and like that's pretty racist to want to get rid of all the black people, right? But I would think in his mind that it was like his attempt to,
Yeah, he thought it would reunify the country if we just
But the thing is, like, what are you going to send them back to?
the same.
They
people
know.
that sold
okay,
him into
The,
slavery
the
in the
thing,
first
the
place.
thing was, he wasn't even worried. The word that I heard was that he wasn't even concerned with sending them back anywhere. It wasn't the humanitarian part. He was literally just like put them on boats,
Hitting a reset
send them
button.
away.
one thing
Yes.
that drives me up a wall too.
I think Lincoln was the
is-
worst president, by the way.
When I see a lot of black people go, we should just go back to Africa, or my favorite thing, not like
But you ever
because-
heard Marcus Garvey, African Diaspora? Yeah, that's been attempted several times.
So,
over
but that's the
course of
thing.
history.
And then
I've known
I've
two guys
seen-
from
hold on,
Africa.
hold on.
Go
I've
ahead.
seen a lot of people say this, and this is what really makes me mad.
Probably what I'm about to say.
When they go, after Akon's done, I'm going to Africa. Bitch, why after Akon's done? Go help that motherfucker. Yo,
I haven't heard people say that.
I've seen a whole bunch of people say that, like, because Akon's building up parts of Africa right now. He's throwing a lot of money on that.
And the crazy part is, it's like people. There's part of Africa where like just rich ass black people. Like there's part like what we have like tile in our houses. They tile they driveways
Yeah.
with.
And I'm just like, dude, like,
No, that's what I'm
why
saying. If
won't
you
we
took all the wealthy African American people in this country, if they took all their money and just went to Africa, they could probably make a nice little country.
It just drives me up the wall. I'm like,
Those
one,
spending powers on.
I'm like, one, you're not really pro-black. You just want to go somewhere where you think it's easier. It's not about helping people. It's all about.
Who was it that said that? Like when a rapper gets rich, where does he move?
But you can't stay in your neighborhood.
Well, that's true.
Nipsey Hussle was a perfect example of that.
Well, not just him. Don't mean to cut you off, but
No, you're fine.
who was it? Ice Cube. When he moved back to his community, he moved out like 2 months later, and like why? It's like, man, you're not giving back to the community. I thought you were moving here. He's like, I did try to give it back, and y'all stole all my shit. It's like, I had to leave.
It's true, but you know what I'm saying. But like, when you leave people on the back burner for 400 years, they start fighting each other for scraps. Because I like every time, and it's not even like so much the whole reparation piece. Like I try to explain to people why there's a lot of crime in impoverished communities, not just predominantly black or brown or yellow, but even in some white communities. Everything can be solved fiscally if you provide an opportunity to earn income and sustainability goes a long way.
For sure.
But with black people in particular, you went from slavery to sharecropping to Jim Crow South. We finally got the Civil Rights Act signed in '64. But even throughout all of that, you had the Black Wall Street incident where they literally rained down bombs on a wealthy neighborhood.
So on that part, that's where I'm like, man, reparations really should come to those people. I'm like, because that was during like the 20s, I believe.
Yeah, that was
like
20s.
Roaring 20s.
Like my grandfather was born in the 20s.
You don't hear about that in history either, though.
They scared to teach it.
Exactly, but
They don't want black kids to get pissed off and like, kid you not, silly as this shit may sound. Remember like the movie Get Out? Mm-hmm. The ending that we got wasn't even the original ending.
Oh, I believe it.
The original ending was supposed to be that when his friend from TSA pulled up, that was supposed to have been the cop from earlier, and he was supposed to get arrested and go to jail, and the TSA cop visited him. You either go with that ending and risk a race war, or you go with the alternate ending where everybody leaves happy.
It was funny when me and my wife went to go see that movie, and we were coming out, and you hear like a lot of people, what the fuck do you really think? Like, I'm like, it's a joke, guys. Like they don't really think you're gonna brainwash them, but like you'd be surprised. People are like,
but that movie also had a lot of symbolism for like organ harvesting and human trafficking, because there's a lot of women and minorities that like they do go missing and they do get
tremendous
shit.
amount. It's amazing how many. I mean, even
that was
American
the
girls
whole.
stuff. Girls go visit Europe and stuff like that.
Like what's happening in the Dominican right now?
Oh,
The whole
that's nuts.
surviving R. Kelly part. I mean, the whole thing was like no one's caring about the black women.
And you know what's crazy? What if R. Kelly was really just doing some Hugh Hefner shit? Like, is it really that different in the grand scheme of things? I mean, pissing on a chick aside.
Underage pissing on chick.
In the words of R. Kelly, hold the 17.
This is the remix edition to the
Some
song
people,
about
I've seen
pissing.
that argument. Like they're like, well, like Hugh Hefner, Elvis with his wife.
Oh yeah, marrying a 14-year-old.
I always like to say, well, that was a different time. Hugh Hefner, not so much, but like Elvis part, like that was a different. That was allowed back then, and we're talking about current time. So if you want to fight for that, you can, but you're also fighting against laws during that time. We still think that's wrong,
right?
And like this was happening in current era.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
Honduras.
You can't.
Honduras. They can be like 14
can't judge past events with a modern mentality.
Exactly. And so R. Kelly is more of a current event. And I mean,
well, yeah, what 10 years?
But
ago?
we've ignored it for 30 years.
Yeah.
well, that's the thing we're not.
Because he was giving. That's how I feel. As soon as somebody don't have any worth to us, we don't care, and that's when we try to take them out.
So that whole documentary,
Bill Cosby?
I watched 8 episodes, and you know what I thought at the end? Same shit as before. Like it didn't change my opinion.
People still buying his albums. People still going to his show.
That's what I'm saying. Like he was still like he was pissing on a person before. You still think he's not pissing on him now? Like
right. And what's crazy about the Cosby thing is
Cosby's a whole different story. In my
Weinstein
opinion.
got to buy his time and Cosby didn't. But there's also a theory that because Cosby was about to buy Sony and make some other investments,
Yeah, I heard about that.
was not to be conspiracy theory, that wouldn't surprise me. Because there's a thing called COINTELPRO where they try to get MLK to kill himself.
Well, Joe Rogan, I listen to him a lot.
Yeah.
He mentioned that CIA agent he had on. I don't know if you watched that. I didn't see that episode. But
You talking about on Cosby?
No.
Oh, we're talking about
MLK.
MLK, yeah.
And he said, like, it reeks of push. And what he meant by that, it was like reeks of government being involved. Getting MLK
Imagine
killed.
that.
And
Yeah, you're talking about people that specialize in like mental warfare.
exactly.
and
But
stuff.
it was like, it's funny. People don't, it's always like, you have this thing in your pocket, your smartphone, that is basically knowledge of everything in the world. But you're still going to look over to your friend, hey, man, how you spell, like supersonic? I don't know, look up that on your fucking phone. Why are you asking
Right.
me? Because you're right here.
Right.
And it's like, it's kind of like how that MLK stuff is. You can legit look that up.
Yeah, you can
You're
look it
like,
up.
You're just like,
But
what?
not like, you ever heard of COINTELPRO?
Kind of.
It was like counter initiative. Let me see. I gotta find it. But bro, it was some crazy. Cause I was watching the old Chuck D interview and he mentioned it. All right, so basically it was it stands for Counterintelligence Program. Ran from 56 to 71. It was a whole bunch of investigations that FBI was doing. And they basically were trying to discredit and surveillance and infiltrate domestic organizations. If you talk to, I've actually had conversations.
Isn't that the one that involved Malcolm X and
They looked at Malcolm X. They looked at the Black Panther Party. They looked at the Nation of Islam. They looked at a lot of people. And I've actually talked with. So if you talk with old school gang members, be it Bloods, Crips, or GDs, like they'll tell you, Big Brother gave us guns and drugs, and we started fighting each other. I recall hearing from one person that MLK used to get suicide packs saying, if you don't stop, or if you don't kill yourself, we're gonna let everybody know that you have affairs, and boom, 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 and this, that, and the other. And that's just like they had another program called the Ghetto Informant Program, where they literally dropped people undercover. I think it was either in New York or Philadelphia. Like, oh, this shit was happening in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
I'm pretty sure they did that. I don't doubt that at all, just because I feel like something similar was going on with Kennedy.
Yeah,
because I'm like, I feel like before you assassinate somebody, you probably would try to get them to kill themselves. Because if you just kill them, now they're a martyr.
Yeah.
Like
Tell you what, you want to see something really cool? Take your phone and Google Operation Northwood.
Oh, right.
Tell me. Oh, okay.
Like you ever talk to the people?
Joe Rogan.
I didn't. I've done that for long. I didn't know Joe Rogan talked about it.
Yeah, so like
The whole podcast about that.
Did he? I didn't know that.
like I'm a cable man, so I have earbuds in most of my time.
What's the UFO guy?
Bob Lazar, like I don't know if y'all saw that one. That'll freak me the fuck out.
Bob Lazar worked at not Area 51, but the place right next to Area 51.
He's the one that exposed
I did
Area
watch that
51.
one.
Yeah, that was
But they talked about like when he had Al Jones on. I don't know if y'all watched that one.
I hadn't got a chance.
I can't stand
to
Alex
watch
Jones so much that I won't watch any
No.
Alex Jones video.
You have to. It was
don't
hilarious.
understand.
He was at his craziest.
It's
I have a
was
fiery
This is right after he
hate
got
for
deplatformed,
Alex
yeah.
Jones.
right before.
right before, and
Well, the second time, right before.
I hate the
second time.
fact that we're deplatforming.
I thought he was in the middle of it,
slippery
but-
slope.
Yeah, I can't
He
stand it.
deplatformed one time and he got deplatformed.
I can
Well,
understand
okay.
the Alex Jones,
But even
kinda-
then, because
the
I agree
platforming
with
thing,
it.
I said a long time ago, I was like, of course that's where it's going to go.
because I'm not.
These tech giants feel like they're gods.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for
like
sure.
they of course they are going to do it, and they will insist that people think like they think and do what they want.
And like as a libertarian, I'm torn with that. Right? It's the company's right to produce what they want, right? And who?
So-
Ben Shapiro has a very good. You're probably. Are you gonna say that?
I don't know. I
Okay,
haven't
Ben
listened
Shapiro
to it.
has a very good stance on that, straight up.
And he's
What do you call yourself?
right,
Are you-
publisher or platform?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, so my thing about that is they're going half and half.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, you demonetize
Well, you can't
somebody.
do that, right? You got to
What-
do one of the
It's
other.
not just that, but like I'm like, oh, so YouTube, you demonetize
Right.
something, so you don't agree with
Which
that.
I don't.
So does that mean you don't agree with the comments that are happening on your page either? But you're holding them responsible for that. But you're not holding
Right.
them. But you're going
Well,
against yourself with
it's definitely
demonetizing.
it's definitely a bias to how they employ it, but it's
Well,
like
we're off the air. No, I'm just kidding.
We won't post this one on YouTube.
No, it's like you were saying, it's they're demonetizing people. But the funny thing is, I listened to one today where this guy, he's actually from Britain, and they have completely different laws and stuff.
Right.
But regardless of the laws, he got kicked off of Patreon and something else. And it was
Oh.
funny because he got in trouble with one site, and that company owns another one, and he got kicked off of that other one the same day. They're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I thought you said it's because I broke your policies on this site, but you kicked me off this one too, and they have completely different standards.
yeah.
He's like, so obviously it's just because you wanted to get rid of me.
Patreon probably brings in more money for pages like that and like people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro. Patreon has probably been demonetizing people for the longest amount of time because I forgot who they started with. He's got a weird name, but I think Jordan Peterson got demonetized for a while. Dave Rubin was. Who are these guys? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've listened to everything both of those guys said. Dave Rubin's a gay Jew, and Jordan Peterson is a doctorate psychologist. You know what I mean?
Intellectual.
Yeah, he was
come
supposed to
on.
go speak at a college, and the kids like a
I mean,
little
that's
about
that's
it.
anytime you go to fucking
He's
Berkeley
like
or something.
He's like a very, like I say, he's like a very highly educated, respected person.
Well, they call all those guys, like the ones I just named, they all call it like the intellectual dark web, right? 'Cause it's like nobody wants them to speak or whatever, but that's where their biggest platform is. And
But,
That's another. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say like, but it's kind of ironic because it's like we have freedom of speech and freedom of media. It is social media, and then like the Library of Congress was publishing like tweets and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Yeah.
like, so if things are now technically going to print or being archived, aren't you then infringing on the freedom of speech because it's protected through a media
They're also
platform?
infringing on it anyway because, like, let's say college, like public colleges, where like Ben tries to go speak sometimes, they won't let him speak because
Right.
he's quote unquote hate speech, which he's not.
And colleges typically historically lean
They
left already.
They try to sidestep it. They always do because I worked for Tulane. Tulane is a private college and all that.
Yeah.
I was there when I had to go protect the super small conservative group they had there. Like kids had to sit in right outside the door that they were at and stuff like that, and we had to like tell them something because they were trying to chant outside the door so they couldn't have their meeting. And it was only like 9 kids in there. I mean, it's a very small conservative group in there, but they were being harassed constantly. And the night of the election, I worked that night. Fuck, that was fucking crazy. We arrested like 4 kids from Loyola. It was fucked up.
My favorite video to this day is the Young
CNN?
Turks election
Oh,
video.
that was funny too.
It is gold. Oh god, if you haven't seen it, just look up.
I don't like that.
Look
dude,
up Young
what's his name?
Cenk Uygur.
Yeah,
He's-
like he.
They just gobble Bernie's. You know,
Well,
like-
when he had that whole debate with the Ben,
yeah.
that was god awful on his part.
You know, that wasn't the best of Ben I'd ever seen either, though.
Right, but Ben was still like.
Well, the worst of Ben is better than the best of Cenk.
That was the thing though. I feel like Ben didn't bring out his best because he's like.
Well,
Okay. Like he's like
You know,
scratching
Ben
the
Shapiro?
deal.
Yeah,
Ben
yeah.
Shapiro-
I watched a few of his videos and
He came
he
out
made
with
some
What do
points.
you think
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah, if
You know,
I ever get a chance to like sit down and like
you would
across
like
the
have
table,
like to have a long term
I
discussion.
would like
I
I would love to go at Ben, like just on some of I forgot what topic it was exactly, but like I agreed with like 30% of it, but like the other 70% I was like I could crush you.
He
I don't remember what it was. You know
he's
what I'm
got a
saying?
lot of libertarian views that I enjoy.
Yeah, well, actually, now he started changing what he calls himself.
Well, yeah,
He started
I
saying
just heard
like
the other
that.
day
Yeah,
that
he
like,
started
I'm a
calling himself
libertarian. It's
libertarian.
like, is he? I wonder if he's getting ready for like a 2024 presidential
But
run.
people, but
No, he's adamant about that.
But people
Very
like
much of that.
what I hate is like people like will put people into a box. It's like people are allowed to change their views and
Oh, yeah, for
grow
sure.
over the course
So-
of time.
Again, I hate saying this all the time, but Joe said it best, or not Joe, but someone on his podcast said it best. Was Madonna and David Bowie?
Yeah,
You couldn't classify them in the box because every year they changed their look,
yeah.
and their excuse for that was, "I'm never the same. I'm always changing." So if that's the case, everyone's always changing. Why are you always classifying yourself in one small box?
Yeah.
You're not the same person you were a year ago.
Yeah, you know what's up about Madonna? If you look at how much money Dennis Rodman made before and after he dated Madonna, notice his persona and how he dressed and acted before
He
and after he
deserved it.
dated Madonna.
After, yes, yeah, I think he deserves that.
Yeah, but now it's like
He earned that.
there's a genius in being eccentric, being weird, even being
Yeah.
crazy.
That was
You know
like
what I'm
when
Yeah,
Albert
crazy people
Einstein
make money. It happens.
messed with Marilyn Monroe. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he got his fame went up after that.
Right.
Oh, I mean, me and him were talking about that. So you see some of these crazy people on YouTube just acting like idiots on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that dude's a millionaire.
Yeah.
I'm like, why am I not?
No.
I'm like,
Now, sometimes the crazy is organic because you're dealing with people that's like on a genius level spectrum. Like Elon Musk is hella weird, but his
Super
mind is
smart.
always racing.
So I just learned the other. Sorry.
No, I'm done.
I just learned the other day that Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon,
Yeah.
are both working on a new space program. So, if you probably know this, so if I'm wrong, correct me. But they both have launched their shuttles not into space, but higher than like a plane would go. I think Jeff
Stratosphere?
Bezos was 6 or 7 times. I think Elon Musk is at like 12 or 13.
I don't know exact numbers, but I
And,
think around
I know Elon Musk. He's trying to get it so precise that when it comes back down,
you mean SpaceX? Yeah, SpaceX
that it
program.
goes right back onto your gliding rails.
Hmm.
And so NASA will build a space shuttle for like $3 billion, and it's a one-time use. You can't use it after that. Elon Musk is like $2 million, and it's reusable as much as you want it to be.
Yeah, the SpaceX program. They had that landing
Yeah.
pad out in the water, and it keeps landing. They just land it back on that landing pad.
why the fuck isn't Amazon paying taxes? That's what I'm wondering.
NFL don't pay taxes.
Yeah, about
Some
to say.
bull- Bullshit,
Amazon
man.
is responsible for more people paying more taxes than any other company
Yeah,
on
I was
this
about to say
planet.
they're paying it's a misconception. They do pay taxes.
Just not like you.
It's just in a different way.
Plus,
And
companies-
and the same loopholes they use. Every company.
Companies
Facts.
don't pay
Those
taxes.
people.
People pay taxes.
No, that's true. It's just like when you see that zero right there, you're just
Now, if
like,
you're really smart, you run a business through a religious organization,
Scientology.
like the Scientology, Nation of Islam during the Civil Rights era.
Oh yeah, I
Me
got
being
one
a
for you.
Malcolm X
Told
fan,
him
I
about
am.
this. nonprofit organization. Nonprofit organization says the company can't make profit. It doesn't say how much you can pay yourself.
Coming from all
And
fraternity
Vicious
guys.
said the Divided People now has a nonprofit organization you can donate to.
Just
We
saying.
don't endorse stealing.
No.
No, that's what I'm saying. That was the messed up part when I found out about that. That's a loophole in nonprofit. When you hear about a nonprofit
Just gotta
organization,
make sure you maintain.
I
your
went
ID.
to a guy's house, right, and this guy's living fat. Let's put it that way. I mean, this I was like, damn, what does this guy do? And I seen some paperwork. He runs a nonprofit organization. I was like, how the fuck? I mean, this dude had a Tesla outside and a Porsche.
Yeah.
I'm like, So then I went and looked up some stuff, and I'm like, oh, you can pretty much pay yourself millions of
Yeah,
dollars.
because nonprofit just means that the company's not. So
You're not
can-
profiting,
Well,
but
you
you're
can
balancing
still
out.
pay.
You got operating
You can
costs.
pay your workers. You know what I'm saying?
You can pay your workers. You can
And if
pay
you
yourself.
work for the company, you can set your salary. So
You're
it's still.
you're running
You just
the.
gotta make sure you have enough.
That
for
just
your-
goes
the
back to-
organization can't make the profit.
That just
It has
goes to
balance
further
out. It
prove
can't-
my point that the government is failing at everything they do. Right?
Well, I mean, that's when I say this pretty often, and I think, the Founding Fathers made rules for a small area, and we're not that area anymore. And I think it's high time we come together and start,
I don't think that's the case.
I do,
Because, if you use that excuse, right, then you can use the excuse that,
we
oh,
shouldn't
well,
have
the
guns.
Founding Fathers didn't know we'd have ARs, right?
no.
They had cannons that could shoot them. You know
So
what I'm saying?
my point is that I think it's time to update.
Update
So
what,
just make
though?
amendments.
Yeah,
Well, they want to do a convention of states. Louisiana's already part of it. Convention of states would just allow you to come together
I mean,
to
I'm more,
change the Constitution, add things, take away things, whatever you need to.
I'm okay with the convention of states.
Like absolutely one of the things that needs to happen, and I haven't met a person yet who doesn't agree with this. Congress needs to be limited to terms.
I agree.
You should not be able to keep running for Congress. Why? Because when you have people constantly running, you get people joining forces, becoming little teammates and stuff like that. Now the problem is, even if you put term limits, they're still going to do that.
So I
Because
would be
Democrats are going
okay.
to put up their people. These are the people.
I'd be
they're gonna
okay with
put
two
up.
solutions, right? Either one, keep them at their current salary and give them term limits, or let it be a lifetime job, but don't make it a $200,000 a year job.
Nah, fuck that.
You know what I
No
mean?
lifetime job.
See, yeah, no, I don't ever want to see anybody in lifetime
But
politics.
see,
if you're in politics
who-
for a lifetime
Unless
to
you're
make a
Here's-
career,
here's the
there's
thing.
something wrong with it.
Here's why I'm okay with this, right? Let's say, because people can vote out their Congress people. It's super easy.
But they're too lazy to do it. That goes back to the guy that didn't want to burn a vote on a third party. I'm just like, if we
Well,
vote
that's-
these
but
people
who-
in
Okay,
and
so
out,
who's that crazy chick that wears the
who's
cowboy
that a
hat? It's all shiny and
failure on,
sparkly.
though? You know what I'm saying?
Frederica.
it's
or
on
something?
us as the voter.
That's what I'm saying.
Y'all know what I'm
That's
talking about?
Yeah,
You
that's
know
what
what I'm
I'm
saying?
agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Y'all know what I'm talking about?
Who?
Yeah, she wears the
Yeah,
crazy
look like
cowboy
Ma-
hat. It's
look
all
like
sparkly
Macho
and
Man
shit.
Randy
That bitch
Savage.
is crazy. I'm like, how would anybody vote for her? She can't put together a coherent sentence.
Do you know what her newest proposal is?
Yeah, I heard she wanted to make
She
it illegal
wants to
to,
make it- to
to
mock
insult
Congress.
a congressman.
She looks like Macho Man Randy
And
Savage.
she, I mean, she is absolutely. I'm listening to her
You're
conversation. I'm
going to jail
like,
when
she
she gets that bill
doesn't
back.
even make sense. I'm like, she
Not
doesn't
that
even make
big.
sense. I'm like, who would vote for her? I'm like, she couldn't have got elected like in a normal way.
That the population has to be educated, right?
The
'Cause
higher your
even if
speeches-
you get rid of term limits, if
But
your
that-
population isn't educated,
That goes back to what I was saying
good.
about the whole history part. We're not educated,
But
right?
this is the thing. If I go give a campaign speech
Government
tomorrow
can't
and
do
I'm
it.
talking on a 9th grade fucking level, and somebody come behind me and speak on a 3rd grade, they're gonna get more votes than me.
Yep.
That happens every election.
So a few things that I've always said is politics has been run. See, it used to be different. It used to be your community, small communities
I mean,
came together and said, we
yeah.
want you to run for this office because we all like you. We
Right.
trust you.
Right.
Now it's somebody who wants to be a politician, wants that to be
Yeah.
their lifetime
Well,
thing.
so the reason I mentioned the
Lobbyists
other,
don't make it any better.
if you're not making 6 figures a year, who's going to stay there for a lifetime? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that problem would sort itself out even outside of the term limits.
That depends because you still would have people being like, okay,
Yeah,
well,
you
this
have-
this
yeah.
organization is going to give me
Yeah,
more.
no,
exactly.
so-
Like I said, you'd be making that back office
I
money
would
because
I would make lobbying illegal, right? I'm a big fan of getting money out of politics altogether. Politicians should be civil servants, not lifetime employees.
Shouldn't fear your government. Government should fear its people.
Exactly. So smaller federal government, bigger. Not even. I would keep the state governments where they're at, and then bigger local governments.
State governments could be tweaked a little too, but
Oh, no,
they
for
don't
sure.
need it to the same level. I
Well,
mean,
that's like-
New Orleans is a good example.
Louisiana.
I mean,
in
where
general,
is the fucking money? I mean, come
Louisiana
on.
might have the worst
That's a lot of
constitution in
money.
the entire country. As it stands, Louisiana can make 2 budget cuts, and that's to education and that's to healthcare. That's
Yep.
it. They can't cut lobbying. They can't cut lifetime contracts with like employers. With like
don't get me started on that. But that's what I'm saying. Like all these. I was telling somebody because they were talking about, well, somebody was saying like Republicans are bad because they do this, and this with money, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, yeah, and I'm not defending them. I'm like, yeah, all that stuff's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you think Democrats don't do that too? I mean, come on. Well, you remember the big push for the solar stuff and all that? I'm like, you think Democrats didn't hustle to go buy up those companies and to invest in them and all that?
Well,
Why?
I
They
think-
knew the money was coming from the government. They were going to get paid.
I think the
sides
only
of that,
reason
though.
Dianne Feinstein hasn't tried to impeach Trump is because she's making money off the deals that Trump is making. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they all do. They're
I
inside.
don't think
It's
Trump-
insider trading
But
within
you
the
want to hear
government.
something? I've had people tell me there's a group of people that they're building up a case, and they're just waiting for the right time to strike.
Oh no, well that's every impeachment.
I think.
But the thing is, too, will the Senate vote to cancel like what Clinton?
No. It
Remember
won't
Clinton got impeached, but
It'll
then the
never
Senate
go
put
through
him
the-
back in.
It'll never
Well,
go through the
I
Senate.
think. I really think it's kind of too late.
You talking about
impeach him at
against
this
Trump?
point.
Yeah.
Trump building a case against Trump.
Yeah,
They pulled that.
That was-
they tried to pull that trigger already. and
That's
they went
what
down.
somebody was saying. Who was it? Pelosi?
Yeah, Nancy.
It was like
That's what I'm talking
Pelosi's
about.
basically
Not-
sitting
yeah.
back.
Not Feinstein. not
And-
Pelosi.
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi.
At this point, it's like, what's the point though? Like by the time you impeach him, the new election.
Well, the problem is you took your best shot and what they thought was their best shot and it missed horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now anything they do looks petty and
My whole
So-
thing is I don't want Trump to get impeached because I do not trust Pence with anything.
I don't really know as much about Pence to be honest.
he's quiet.
He's a lot quieter than Trump, which I enjoy. You know what I'm saying?
That's what you kind of worry.
I don't,
You know how like old people growing up, like it's something about that boy. Every time I see Pence on TV, I'm like, it's something don't sit right.
I don't know.
And he also
I've been
has
saying
a
that
bad
I've been saying
history.
that about Biden for a long time.
And he has a bad history with gays and minorities, I think, in Indiana.
I don't know about
where he's from.
minorities, but I know like
Well,
he's
gay people hate
he's
him.
a-
So,
well, he's a-
so far, most of that's been fabricated.
No, it's true because he had a book that, like a children's book that came out about his pet, and then this gay person made one. No, yeah, something like that. And this
No,
gay
his
person made.
wife.
Oh, his wife.
His wife is like a school teacher or something. It was something weird like that, but I
And
don't
so
know the details.
a gay
It's real
person.
quiet.
Yeah,
I've never
a gay
heard him actually
person
say
made
anything about
a
gay
children's
people.
book about his pet that they made him gay, and they released it the same time. The same time that other book came out.
Oh, that's hilarious.
My brother brought 6 copies. Never read it once.
That's
just
hilarious.
to show him.
Yeah.
But like we were saying that I've never actually heard anything he said.
what I imagine it is that I don't want to say that there's a war on Christians because there's not, right? Christians are still the most predominant group in this
Depends on
country.
the country.
Yeah, but
Well,
you
in
can,
this
you can,
country.
yeah, but you can take a war to the
But-
predominant. Being predominant doesn't mean you can't
No,
have
you-
war.
you're right.
Fine.
Atheists got prayer pulled out of school,
Yeah,
but God is stealing our money.
Well, I mean that's a constitutional
They're working
issue
on that.
anyway.
they're working on that. They want it. They want all that to be
And,
removed.
and
from
on the
Congress,
flip, flip side, in Ohio, there is a school that will soon be allowing prayers to Satan.
But
So
the
here's
whole
my
is
thing:
our
if
state
you
is
allow
not
one
church.
religion, you have to allow them all.
Exactly, and that's I brought that up on Facebook one time. I said I don't believe you should teach religion in school or it'd be an activity because if you teach one, you should teach all.
I got one
You
for you.
can't teach all because it's almost impossible.
You can. I've
Okay,
done
explain.
it. All right, so my second year teaching, I taught a science class, and being in Laronja, a town that actually made a
You
textbook.
taught in Laranja?
I did 2 years at Laronja High. I did a third year as the in-school suspension teacher at Neeson, and I did a half year at a junior high Baton Rouge Park Forest. And but at Laronja actually made a textbook because they did not want creation taught in the school. Now, this is in 2015, 2016. We get to the chapter in environmental science. We're talking about evolution. No, Coach. I'm like, wait, huh? Evolution. So me being me, all right, how many of y'all get vaccinated every year? Which you can't say that shit now because it's anti-vax. But anyway, everybody raised their hand. I said, okay, by y'all getting vaccinated, y'all believe in evolution because y'all basically saying that those bugs you're trying to get protection from, they change on a year-to-year basis. All right, so the same way in my science class was the same way in my American history class where we ended up having a conversation about civil rights, gay rights, and religion. I have the idea that science and religion can teach each other. They can fill in spots. Now I was raised Baptist. Still kind of consider myself a Christian. It's a whole nother conversation. But with all of that being said, when you look at religion and science, say the same thing. Like I'll talk to somebody about mitochondrial Eve. We all get our mitochondria from our mothers. They usually trace everything back to West Africa.
Parasite Eve, good game.
Religion, Garden of Eden, boom, everything is in the same area. And then, like in my history class, I remember having a conversation where this one kid was like, because we was talking about civil rights, and I was like, well, Loving in Virginia, and that came up. Well, one kid was like, well, you know the saying, bluebirds and redbirds. And I was like, well, for one, that's not in the daggone Bible, but I'll entertain it. I brought up those religious freaks that pop up on every campus, especially like the one here at Southeastern. And I remember on the back end of the conversation, I told this guy, I said, well, look, y'all have, for one, y'all have pissed off a lot of people because on the same sign you have whoremongers and adulterers, you have Roman Catholics. But I flipped it on him. I was like, let me ask you this. Do you believe that God is perfect? And he was like, yeah, God's perfect. I said, is man perfect? Like, no, man isn't perfect. Like, man wrote the Bible. Yeah. He's like, yeah. Like, so the fallible hand of a man wrote the infallible word of God. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing with science.
Well,
Science and religion
yeah,
was
exactly.
both man-made so they can fill in the gaps for
And
each
it's not
other.
just that. I hate when they go, well, you know, like they wrote it in God's image. Which version?
And you know the crazy thing is you will have people who aren't necessarily Christian. They'll sit there and say all he did was put a face to the sun. Well, either way, science started by ancient civilization studying the sun, stars, earth, and the moon.
So what I found very interesting, right, is that if you read Stephen Hawking's theory on how the universe was created and it's essentially the Big Bang, right? It is almost verbatim for what is in the book of Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the Bible, we already know that it doesn't include the book of Judas.
Right.
It doesn't include the Dead Sea
The
Scrolls.
missing books, yeah.
And there's I think there's a total of like
plus
1,000 of
Lost
them.
in
that aren't in
translation.
there.
I mean,
Not
how
just
many
that.
Yeah, because it went from
translation?
Arabic to
No, Aramaic.
Yeah.
You
Not
gotta
just
go way
that.
back.
correction.
But
Stand
a
corrected.
lot of them at one point was burned, and they were rewritten.
Well, also the Catholic Church has a bunch of them they won't let anybody see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I mean, like, first up, I'd be like, okay, that's suspicious.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
King James had his own version.
Yeah, the
Who was
King
a
James
murderer and a
Bible.
sodomizer.
The,
That's a whole
and so-
other.
Not to mention,
that's my thing. That's my thing about the Bible. I'm like,
not to mention
I'm like,
what Catholicism looked at
I
the
could
British
kind of,
English with,
I could kind of agree if
Constantine.
it was one to two people, three people that rewrote the Bible, but it's thousands at this point. You know what I'm
But
saying?
I feel like in schools, we should teach like each religion. Because like if you read the Quran and you read the Bible, it's the same thing. Like Allah and God is the same person.
So I didn't know this up until about probably my 10th grade year of high school, right? If you read the Old Testament of the Bible and the Quran and what's the Jewish holy book? Does anybody know that off the top of their head?
No, not right
The
off.
Hebrew, you mean the Hebrew?
So
The Torah.
the Torah.
The
Yeah,
Torah.
Yeah, the
Torah.
Torah.
So they're all the
Big
same
mouth,
book.
thank you.
The Torah's part of the Bible. Like they have some that align.
So
So
different, yeah.
essentially, they're all Abrahamic religions, right?
Yeah, we've had this.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was on our religious debate. We talked
Yeah.
about this. They all stem
Abraham,
from.
Isaac,
Yeah, the two
Moses.
brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they all descend from the same place. What separates Christianity from the other two is the New Testament, right?
Yep.
Which is, to us, the doctrine of grace, right?
The New Covenant.
So because of the New Covenant, we don't abide by the old law.
Right.
What is weird, though, is that the God in the New and the Old Testament are completely different, right? The Old Testament God is very
Vengeful,
fearing,
spiteful.
he's very vengeful, and he's very powerful.
New ones
The
for-
new one is more forgiving and all-loving and all-knowing. You know what I mean? So it's like, either the Bible's saying that God has evolved, which means he wasn't always perfect, or it's a different understanding. You know what I mean? So it's...
Well, I'm gonna throw a little curveball to some people here. Tell me this, because we're talking about government and religion. So what's the big saying that everybody knows? Separation of church and state, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where does it say that?
But see, and you know, my one thing is, I've always felt like our state was founded upon the church.
I'm getting there. So this is the thing that was funny, because I heard this and I was like, huh. So I went and read into it. It doesn't say that in the Constitution. It does not say there's a separation of church and state. It doesn't say it anywhere.
Well,
in
that
there.
would be
That was actually a statement someone made in their own writings, and it's not in the Constitution. Our government actually was founded as a Christian civilization. The deal was that they couldn't impose that on people, and people couldn't impose theirs on the government.
And that's something I remember learning as a kid, that it was people like America was founded on people that wanted religious freedom.
We swore on the Bible. You got sworn on the Bible. Everything was done in Christian based in Christian. I mean, our laws were based on Christian morality.
Right. Well,
that was the basis of all
Judeo-Christian.
Judeo-Christian values.
Yeah.
And well, it's just funny because I was thinking about it and I was like, it's actually true. It is. Now people have turned that into separated church and state means every religion is free to do, but that's not what it said.
Yeah.
You can be Muslim here, but that don't mean your Muslim stuff cannot supersede our government and what's going on here.
I forget which original colony it was, but one of them was a theocracy, right? That means the church rules the state. What? So we know from the moment we drafted the Constitution that we were not going to be a theocracy, right? Mm-hmm. And I would argue that Thomas Jefferson and a handful of other guys were not Christians. I think they were atheists. Maybe they were.
A bunch of them were. I think they said Benjamin Franklin was or something like that.
Yeah, but unless they were Masons, because you have to believe in a deity.
But so Thomas Jefferson,
except for witchcraft.
Well, they all did agree at the end when the Bill of Rights and everything. As they said, these rights are bestowed upon us by our Maker. They're saying these are the fundamental rights because God deems it.
We know that when Jefferson drafted the Constitution, right, that he didn't want to put in God.
In God we trust.
He didn't want to put God in the Constitution at all. But the reason he did that was because the citizens of the country were still largely Christian.
But I'm saying that was still the basis of each of the rights. Each of the rights was supposed to say these are inalienable rights bestowed upon your Maker.
Yeah, it's naturally given or God given.
Yeah,
right.
which is the reason why people say you can't really take it because it's not yours to take from me.
I've studied
it's bestowed upon me above the government. That's the whole idea.
I really enjoy that whole Enlightenment period of history. It's one of my favorite times because you go from guys who think you stealing was an act of the devil, so they have to torture it or kill you. Either they torture it out of you or they kill you so it can no longer hurt you. To, all right, now we know this is a rational decision that you made and we need to know why.
Yeah, I like that it was all designed to evolve.
Oh, yeah.
It was designed to. That's why when I talk about Second Amendment stuff with people, they're like, well, okay, so you have the silly comments that people make where like, oh, well, they didn't know AR-15s were. I'm like, dude, back then you could own a cannon.
Yeah.
I could have a cannon and cannonballs in my yard. That was I could have stocks of gunpowder under my house. Why? Because the Second Amendment was
shit, Jerry.
The Second Amendment was designed so that I was on equal force with the government. Yeah. That was the point. So, I was supposed to be equal to the government.
Let's talk about the Second Amendment. So it's not my favorite amendment, but it's one of my favorite amendments, right? There's no exceptions to it, right? Any gun law to me is a restriction.
Yeah, it is.
Which is unconstitutional. Now, people are going to be like, oh, you just think,
well, they want common sense. So you got a common sense.
Wife beaters need to have ARs. And I was like, no. I want the wife who got beaten to have an AR. Yeah. And see how that plays out for the other guy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's ridiculous because you have countries like Britain that say stuff like that. I'm like, do y'all have a nuclear program?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, it's the same thing. It's all about deterrence.
If it wasn't guns, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
It'll be,
I mean,
we used to have swords.
Feudal Japan. Japan was like, we're going to get rid of swords.
No, China has like regular basic knifings in subway trains. Like,
the whole UK has.
And they're like, if it would have been gun, it could have been much worse. It's like, you say that, but they're throwing them fucking knives.
Well, I mean, not even that. I told somebody before. I was like, okay, you take all the guns.
Well,
bombs aren't hard to make.
The CDC did research,
right?
The CDC conducted a survey that was based off of a Florida survey. So they did the Florida survey, and then it's like, well, this is how many times guns have saved lives instead of, or the good guy with the gun.
Yeah, they don't talk about it.
And they picked 42 guys. Like
the flaw with that was that it was a very small area, and the results were inconclusive, but they tried to push it anyway. Yeah. So the CDC went back thinking that they were going to reverse what they found because they were going to do it nationwide, right? The good guy with a gun thing works out almost 2 million times. 2 million.
Well, not only that, but because it's stupid because you can't prove a negative. Okay?
Yeah.
You can't prove how many lives I saved by having a gun because it's unknowable. Okay? Right. A guy could have came in and shot, 800 people for all you know.
Yeah.
But maybe I stopped him. You won't know that because there's no way for me to prove that.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, yeah, we can definitely say how many people died from guns. Absolutely.
for sure.
The other thing messed up that I thought was really messed up is when you look at the statistics everybody was using on that, they were including suicide in that.
Which is the largest portion.
Yeah,
of
the
what it
largest
was, yeah.
chunk of it was suicide. And I was like,
But
that's
it's
ridiculous.
So we got the same guy that we keep talking about. He was like,
Your
"Oh,
best
well,
friend.
you're just trying to allow for wife beaters to have guns." And I was like, "If you want to look at it that way, that's fine.
See,
But what I want is the woman who got beat to have herself armed, so it doesn't happen again.
see, people like that.
Because the only thing that's going to make you equal is a gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
A 40-pound or like a 120-pound woman is not going to beat up a 280-pound man."
So, question: do you talk to this guy face to face?
We did once, and then he kind of. He used to be really cool to talk with, and we would discuss, everything.
My whole thing about that is when I find people like that who make these BS kind of excuses when it's like, oh, well, white beater, but like you flip it, like, well, what if she did have it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I find like I want to understand you. Like that's what I'm trying to change my perspective. 'Cause I used to be like, just like, no, you're fucking wrong, you're stupid. But I'm like, no, okay, what makes you come to this conclusion? And most of the time when I find people like that who are willing to talk to me, one of us is changing their opinion at the end of the day. Because once we find that understanding, I want to understand why you think that. No one wants to go there though,
Yeah.
and I feel like we need to get there.
Oh, for sure. I agree completely.
And like kind of like what we're doing today, it's like we're just talking, but like you can't have that with other people.
My biggest thing with the Second Amendment is like, whenever somebody's sitting there and they're like, well, we just need to get rid of guns, I'm like, do you completely 100% unabashed trust your government? Well, not like, so you do understand that's why the Second Amendment is in place. And if another country, like a friend of mine broke it down perfectly. He's like, D, think about it. Somebody tried to invade America.
Right, Dawn?
Well, Japan.
Yeah, the West Coast is gone. All their guns is gone.
You know what?
Japan didn't invade, and their general was quoted saying, "Well, we didn't invade because behind every blade of grass,
Yeah.
a civilian will have a rifle."
That's facts.
Oh yeah,
Like, bro, you trying to invade America? You're not coming to the South.
you know how many rednecks are excited for this?
Yeah.
You know what I
Bro.
mean?
You
They're
about
itching
to
for it.
you about to get gang members in Chirac to mobilize. you think you're gonna run through East
I'm about to
LA
say,
and Compton?
you want everybody to come together? Try and go.
Like,
No, but you know what I thought was funny? The comment you just made about I lost the train of thought already. Son of a
guns in government, trusting your government, 100%.
Yeah, okay, so like they're like, oh, we shouldn't have guns, and you're like, well, those people that say we shouldn't have guns are 100% conspiracy theories. Like they believe in that 100%. So I'm like, if you think your government's gonna do that, why shouldn't you have a fucking gun?
My favorite. This is
I want
probably
to give you a gun.
Like those same
You need
people,
one.
those same people swear up and down. It's like, yeah, JFK was killed by the government. So was Martin Luther King. The moon landing was fake, and what they're spraying in the ozone is
9/11
poison.
was the inside job.
Yeah.
Chemtrails, bro. Chemtrails, bro.
Like that mosquito thing isn't for you; it's to rot your brain. I'm like, but you don't believe we should have a gun.
my favorite thing about Donald Trump's presidency is is that the same guys who think Donald Trump is this racist. Don't get me wrong, I think Donald Trump's a piece of shit too. I ain't gonna lie.
Okay, yeah, I'm about to say, because I don't
he's
know
not a
many
good
people who
He's
don't
got
think
some
that.
policies that I like. He's got some that I don't.
I think overall he's doing a good job. Like as far as
I think so.
I'm just gonna say economy's doing good. No, I'm just saying.
No,
I think
no.
he's a turd. I mean,
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
he's a douche, and I'm like, your wife is
But-
beautiful. You cheated on her. We know that. Nobody doubts that.
The same
You want to
people.
hook up with your daughter?
I was about to bring it up. Like, how do you go? What do you have in common with your daughter? Well, I was gonna say sex. What?
Yeah, I was
Way to
about
go,
I was
Woody
about to-
Allen.
Well, he just said the other
At least
day
Woody did his stepdaughter, not his biological.
for the
you know what
4th of
I'm
July thing. He was like, "Yeah, well, they didn't take over this airfield in the Revolutionary War," and I was just like. You gotta, and then the windmills come.
I was about to say the windmill comment. Dude, that was my favorite comment from him by far.
So
So we're gonna have the windmills. Well, what if the wind doesn't blow? Oh, I'm sorry, you can't have electricity because the wind's not blowing, my dear sir. I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious.
Hey, but
He's
you know,
so serious.
but like, and that's something I've been trying to figure out because the way we judge presidents, Ted Kennedy at one point when he was still breathing was the most powerful man in D.C. Never saw 1600 Penn Ave. What if it's just whenever our presidents are doing good, the people running the Senate and the House just feel like putting some good shit through? Like, you get what I'm saying?
they
'Cause
don't
that's where
want-
like
they
all
don't-
the power
That's the
is.
thing. They don't
really.
want to give it to the president.
Okay, so once upon a time, the State of the Union address was not a thing.
No. it
Okay,
wasn't, yeah.
and you didn't have media like you couldn't tweet. I mean, you didn't hear from the president. You just felt the impact of what they were doing. You're like, you know what? Country's doing pretty good right
Yeah,
now. He
like-
must be a good president.
Like the fact we didn't know JFK had a chick at each airport.
Yeah.
We ain't know FDR was a cripple. There's a lot of things we
I
ain't know.
honestly believe, and this could be a whole topic of itself. And I know it's weird to say this because we're doing a podcast, but the free flow of information is actually pretty detrimental to the
Oh, for
world
sure.
nowadays. There once upon a time, like you had to be pretty credible to get your thoughts and opinions out.
Oh, we need to get back to the days of Cronkite. Hey, just read from a sheet of straight facts and just
Just
log off.
Yeah, I like the town crier, like the little newspaper. Here, just a sin.
Oh, what's my man Dan Rather and Ted Koppel? You know what I mean? Just hey, man, just give me some straight facts.
I would,
Well,
I would love to see the news media actually be accountable for the
That was
things
the
that
thing.
they
Like
put
my
out
biggest, one of
Like,
the biggest things recently
You
was
put
the
out
whole
a flat lie.
Covington
Should be
High
accountable for
situation.
that.
That was awful how that was handled.
Oh, the Covington Catholic kids?
Yeah, when they're like, "Oh, doesn't he have the most comfortable face?" and then the
So,
whole video.
But
But the whole
laugh at that.
I know, but then the whole because
I have a dark sense of
So
humor.
it-
So,
I still never heard what happened. That kid was suing like
So,
everybody.
Here's what I like about this whole timeline, right? So before this happened, BuzzFeed comes out with a story saying, we've got information that will throw Donald Trump's presidency in the trash, right? Oh, and then Robert Mueller 2 days later was like, oh,
No,
fuck you don't.
Yeah, because I don't even have it.
So that happened, right? Cool. Then the Kavanaugh thing sometimes come either before or after that, and it's like, you see all these leftists are like, oh, well, Kavanaugh's a rapist. No, he's not. So now it's like, oh, well, he's emotionally unstable. No, he's not. And then they went to the Covington Catholic
And now
kids.
it's funny because
They're racist.
No.
No, it was the other guy's fault.
Ruth
And
Bader
then-
Ginsburg has come out praising Kavanaugh now, and that's their hero.
And well, that's because he got in all that trouble. I think he's kind of pandering to the left right now.
That's what some
I
people
think.
said. Some people said he's purposely laying low in the Supreme Court.
I think
mean,
he is for now.
I don't follow too much Supreme Court stuff. I find the law to be ridiculous
Yeah.
because, I mean, when I was a cop and I was trying to learn stuff, I'm like, there's no logic to any of it.
How do you
There's no
expect
sense
a
to any
cop
of it.
that goes to training for what is it, 16 weeks? Is that what?
Something like that.
How do you expect a cop to go to school for 16 weeks and
learn
know all the
everything.
laws
All
when
the
a
criminal
lawyer has
law.
to go for 8 years and comes out not knowing anything? You know what I mean? Like,
We've made that argument plenty. Trust me.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure out what to charge somebody with. It's like honestly, you pick anybody off the street, you can find something.
oh,
to
for
charge.
sure.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
probably jaywalking.
That's
you know?
like pulling somebody over. Like you can pull somebody over at any time. There's always something.
Uh-huh.
You know your license plate. It can't.
It's
You know
so
people that put it
cringeworthy.
sideways and stuff like that. It's legal. If your light bulb's out in your license plate, it's legal.
Yeah.
That's like so cringeworthy when you watch someone like the video starts and he's sitting in his car. Cop just pulled me on. I'm like, oh, here we fucking go.
no,
Yeah, but
you said that. I didn't know it was illegal to leave your car running.
Yep.
So like that was just
It's illegal to
anywhere.
Drive, it's illegal to drive without shoes on.
I knew that.
Oh wait, that's a thing.
Reckless
I
driving.
fucking do that every day.
Reckless driving.
What was that? Carjack, whatever that show was.
Oh.
When they left the car, bait something, car bait or
Bait car?
bait car. I was close. They got fined in different states for that, for leaving the vehicle on.
Yeah.
They actually got fined. That's why they're not airing anymore.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because they lost
you can't,
a lot
You can't
of
sit
money
in your
on that.
driveway with the keys in the ignition and be drunk, even if it ain't started.
Yeah, because it's operating
that's
the vehicle.
DWI.
So what I did, right?
Can't ride a horse.
I took the keys out of my ignition and passed out drunk in a dollar store parking lot.
That's okay.
Nobody got me with a DUI. That
Like,
day.
DUI
I didn't drive.
DUI in this state's funny because everybody goes, but they'll go get breathalyzed and they're like, "Ha, I'm not drunk," and they're like, "Congratulations, you're still going to jail." And they're like, "Yeah, but I'm not drunk. It says I'm not drunk." It's like, "Yeah, but I didn't arrest you for being drunk. I arrest you for being impaired." It's actually driving while impaired. So what it is like if you're too sleepy, you're impaired.
Right.
I can stop you and arrest you for that. If they do their little little spiel out there, walk the line, all that stuff. If they hit on enough things, they can say you're impaired.
Right.
So that's all it takes, and then it's pretty messed up. I was like, wow, I did not know that,
Yeah.
because they were telling us that they're like, don't feel bad if you get in there and they
Well,
pass the breathalyzer. It's
What's
not
the
standard
Fourth
we
Amendment
use.
again?
What's that?
What's the Fourth Amendment again?
So it's yeah. I mean, you go If you want to dig hard enough, yeah.
Oh,
You can
for
always
sure.
find a problem, and you can always find a way to get
I,
around that.
people are going to hate me for this, but I am not a fan of DUI checkpoints.
Well, the laws about that are kind of funny. You're
Yeah, they're
required,
weird.
the way you're required to announce a checkpoint.
Yeah, you have to tell.
But the
they don't
way
tell
you do it is
how.
very vague. They put it in the paper and stuff like that. And it doesn't matter what page. It could be a little bitty, and it's as long as it was put out there.
But it's
Right.
like, my thing is,
Fucking magazines.
me being on the road at 2 a.m. is not enough reason for you to pull me over. It's just not. Which I know a DUI, they're not really pulling you over, but still, you know what I'm saying? And I understand the moment, the motive behind it. I don't disagree with it.
I don't like the dogs. Okay, see, I disagreed with that one because I've seen them use them at checkpoints, and they're jumping on people's cars and shit. Like
Yeah.
they're like scratching their car, and they're like, "Oh, he hit on something." I'm like, "Bullshit! That dog didn't hit on shit." I'm watching it.
So,
And I'm like, "That
actually,
dog didn't hit on fucking."
There was like
nothing.
a documentary, right? And the cop can just raise his hand like this, right?
Yeah,
and
he's
the
signaling.
dog will jump up.
Yeah, and they're
he'll
like,
just be
"That's a
oh,
hit."
well, he sees something.
Yeah, now that command is actually the search command,
Uh-huh.
but they're like, "Oh no, that was him hitting on it." And
Yeah.
that's why I've actually brought that up to people because I was a cop. I'll tell you right now, the department I worked for, their canine unit was bullshit. I told somebody about I didn't like the way they treated the dogs. I'm like, y'all treat them dogs like shit.
Who'd you work for?
I ain't gonna say.
I forget what it is.
Podcast.
Smart play. Smart play.
I won't be able to drive through there again.
Word.
We'll talk about that some other time.
Nobody said any anti-Hillary stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't want to disappear.
No.
I wouldn't even make it to
for
my truck.
I voted for Hillary.
No, if you really want to get into Hillary, I mean, honestly, that was the reason. I'll straight up say I voted for. Never mind. I'm not gonna say who I voted for, but I was hell bent
We know
on
who you
Hillary.
vote for.
I was just hell bent on Hillary not become president. That was the first time I ever voted. I didn't vote for that.
Even if I didn't have
I knew she
Gary
was bad.
Johnson, I don't know if I could have voted for the lesser of two evils.
That's why I didn't.
But that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people settle. That's because, see, like my first big state election, because I turned 18 in 07, so that governor race. So the 08 election, that was like my first time voting.
I should have asked that earlier.
You
How
know,
old are you?
I just turned 30 this year.
27.
Oh no. 22. Okay, I'm like 34. So.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So like, so it was dope, like voting for somebody that was like trying to get stuff that like I wanted to see happen. And the extra cherry on top was like, oh, okay, cool. He got to use the same barber I do. All right, but you know what I'm saying? Then fast forward to 12, I didn't like anybody coming from the right side, so I voted for him again. And you know, crazy enough, the first time I voted for Obama, I looked at the vice presidents because like McCain could die in office, Obama could get killed in office. I like Biden more than Palin. That's how I made the decision.
So
you know?
that's another thing I wanted to ask because when I try to talk Obama with black people, they don't want to talk.
Yeah,
And because it's this question, how disappointed were you with him?
I wasn't disappointed because
Why?
my whole thing is like I look at it like, for one, like I said earlier, I feel like all the power sits on the Hill, in the House, in the Senate. So I know like the president isn't going to be able to get everything done. You know, what
He
I mean?
got a lot. He did a lot of what he wanted to do.
Yeah, like he
'Cause
got.
There was the period, like I remember they made a big deal out. They were like the President Trump is holding the country hostage because he didn't want to sign agree. I was like, Obama did the exact same thing.
They all like
He said,
they
but
all
Republicans caved.
they all do it.
I have a huge problem with executive overreach. The problem with it is it's been going on since Teddy. You know what I mean?
You can go way back. Well,
Yeah.
that was always a
Forever.
problem. Well, that's the same.
Each president will extend that power, and as long as it's your party that's in charge, nobody has a problem with it,
I'm
right?
glad you brought that up because that's the same thing for like the federal court system.
Yeah.
That was never in our government. That was not meant to be part of our government. They've
Mm-hmm.
turned themselves into a bureaucracy branch of government that was never meant to exist.
Yeah.
The some federal judge should not be able to block the president from doing his job or doing what it is.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
very odd.
we elected him. We didn't.
Well, we
elect
have
those
checks and
federal
balances
judges.
in place before all that. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There, we have a Supreme Court and all that, but we have these federal, like federal level judges that were
Yeah.
appointed, and it's like, man, those are lifetime appointments too. So
Yeah.
it's like,
What I do like though is that it's amazing if you go back and you look when your Congress is divided from your president, right? So as long as each party doesn't control all three, the government hardly gets anything done, and our economy thrives. It's amazing.
Yeah.
like, I don't think Trump is responsible for the unemployment right now. I think that the government can't do anything within the market is the reason why. You know what I mean?
That's like a myth.
But the figurehead always gets the credit because like
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Obama first half he dealt with a majority
Yeah.
red. I think for what most of Trump's stay has been majority blue so far.
No,
Yeah,
it's majority
it's been
race.
about the same.
Yeah, about the
They-
same.
They,
And
both,
that's
they
the whole
both had
reason
about
why,
the same
like,
situation.
they don't want to pass
I
bills.
don't think
while
that's
the
completely
other parties
true.
in power.
No, they happen here in the state. There's things that they didn't put through. They waited on Jindal to get out of office before they let some of
Yeah,
the stuff
because
go
they're like,
through.
no, we don't want you to get the credit.
So
for
let's
it.
put it this way. I don't think that's 100% true. I think it's like a 50-50 on that. Yeah, it's true. You get people, but confidence, consumer confidence and stuff, it is a thing. It does go up during when you do certain things. When you cut people's taxes, it's true. You can't.
Oh, no,
you can't do that.
I agree with
So
that.
that's going to improve the economy. Now the job growth, a lot of that just comes from it's not great to say it, but a lot of these people that are giving these jobs are conservatives. So when they get a conservative president and they get one like Trump that's telling them I'm all for business, they're like, hey, I'm gonna start hiring people. He's doing stuff for me.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, it's logical to see jobs would grow from that. Now does that mean that's definitely good for the country? Only time will tell.
Right.
I don't like people saying this is everything's super wonderful. It looks good right now, but that don't mean that it's going to be good.
Well,
As
I
far
mean,
as
Like
the
look at
world's
the
concerned.
Clinton administration, how the housing market crashed. We had the recession.
Yeah,
in 08,
something
Yeah.
could happen later
Even
on.
the Roaring '20s were great and followed by the worst
Yeah.
period. You know what I mean?
really-
which contributed to our government getting
Yeah.
big as hell
Oh, yeah.
because all
I
the
re-
policies from FDR.
I would always
So,
blame the
question for
federal-
you. Question for that though. Do you think Black Wall Street would have made a difference for the Great Depression?
Honestly,
Honestly, no. It's because I don't know on a lot. I know about that. I found that out because when two things in history that they didn't teach me that I was really interested in. Roaring '20s we worked on 2 days, and I want to know more about that. And the pirate era. I want to know all about the pirate era, and they didn't teach us shit about that. Roaring '20s I came across Black Wall Street on my own. It did not tell me how much money was going through that. It didn't mention numbers or anything.
it was
that.
I forgot the exact numbers on it, but within that Greenwood community of Tulsa, all the black wealth sat in that area. You had lawyers, politicians,
And what
doctors.
the businesses
the
were
work.
coming up too, creating more jobs.
Yeah, they literally you had to cross the track. Like it didn't matter what part of Tulsa you
that goes
lived
back to
in.
consumer confidence
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Black
white
community
and black
was
people
more-
all had to go
Black
over.
community was more comfortable dealing with.
And when I was
No, I'm saying like even the white people they had to
Yeah,
go
that's
over there
what
and
I'm saying.
shop because they had all the
And so-
high end stores on their side.
So, like, I see that, and then you see the Great Depression come up. I'm like, well, what if that wouldn't have happened? Would we've had the Great Depression, or would it have been a lesser blow?
So I'm,
But that happened because with the stock crash, yeah.
okay.
you're
So
getting
I'm
into-
gonna
you're
go
getting
back.
into
I'm
some hardcore
gonna go back
economics.
further.
Yeah, like-
I'm gonna go back further than that, right?
Yeah.
So in 1913, J.P. Morgan got with a bunch of bankers, and they met on a remote island. Nobody knew that they were all traveling there. Nobody knew that they were all there together. This whole thing was in secrecy, right? So he got together and they formulated this plan. And what they did was they came up with the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve
I was about to
is
bring that up,
not
too.
a government-run entity.
Yep.
To this day, the Federal Reserve is a privately owned corporation.
Yep.
But it acts as a cartel because it does what the government needs it to do. So it works with the government, but it's not the government. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So being that they can control the fluctuation of money, right? Anytime you do that, and let's say you take these pens, right? And you've got 2 stacks for debt. For every one you get two. For every one you own, you get 2 stacks of debt, right? With the way the lending works. You go into a bank. There's no money in a bank. There might be a couple $1,000s, but it's not like they're keeping millions in each bank.
Yeah, if you want to draw a long
Yeah.
amount of money, you have
So
to
what
apply
they-
for it ahead of time.
What they do
Yeah.
is, for every one coin they stack 2 in debt, right? So eventually, those 2 towers, your value will be here and your debt will be
Yeah.
here, right? And eventually, it's going to topple the hell over, and that's caused the recessions. That's caused all your economic panics. That's caused your Great Depression, all
yeah,
of it.
artificially
But-
inflating
You have
an
the bank
economy.
runs where
So,
everybody
but with
try
that
to run
being
It's the
said-
same
and
thing
pull
China's
this shit
doing.
out.
China's artificially inflating their. That's what
Yeah.
people have been.
And plus
accusing
we
them
got-
of for a
Right,
long time.
but that being said, Black Wall Street had the least amount of debt. They were actually profiting more than
That's-
what they were.
That's true.
They were making more than most of the United States. I knew that, and so
I don't see it being enough to protect you from something like that.
well,
Yeah, like on a national level, I don't think
The-
Black
the-
Wall Street was
how
that great.
it's also the question of do you think it,
It
would
was
have
also
lessened the
very
blow, though?
secrete. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't.
I'm trying to see how much money was in Black Wall Street because
Because it's just a question. I've always
Yeah.
wondered
I-
that too. Because
I don't know enough about it to be sure. I would just assume because the effects of the Great Depression were so devastating that there's really, I don't think it was avoidable.
Yeah, because we talking about national level, like
Right.
just
Yeah.
Well, it's one. I guess it's one of those things you won't
every
really
part of the
know.
country being affected.
everybody panicking,
Yeah.
pulling
Black
out
Wall
money
Street,
out the banks
Black
that
Wall
wasn't
Street
there.
probably could have saved a state,
Yeah,
but maybe not the whole nation.
Maybe not even a state, to be honest with you.
But that's my other problem with history, though. The fact that we don't know, people
Yeah.
don't know about Black Wall Street.
I think
Also causes
there
problems.
are experts in those fields. There's probably somebody out there who is
Yeah, there's
an
an expert in
economics who
everything.
can tell.
Oh, yeah,
but we're
but
just
this
none
should
of
be
us
more
are.
like
Yeah.
this should be more. I don't want to say public because public knowledge, but more common knowledge.
Oh, no, for sure. I agree.
That
I didn't learn about Black Wall Street in high school.
No, you didn't. I had to look it up. Like I said, I had to look up that in the pirate era.
I've taken all of the American history courses at college, and I still haven't, not from school, haven't heard of it. You know what I mean?
yeah. I think the only way they would have been safe is because of oil and railroad, because that's the way it was located. It started as 40 acres near a railroad, but I don't think the amount of money, because you think about it, if anything, that would have bankrupted them. If they, I can't draw the correlation of
Right,
how
'cause-
one city could save
No
an
matter
entire
what,
nation.
Well, not
no
just
matter
saying-
what, the money would have been sapped from it because
Yeah.
they still have to do
Yeah.
stuff, and so slowly over the Great Depression, the money was going to get sapped from it.
Yeah, we still was going to need that Second World War to pull us out.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people give credit to FDR with the New Deal and the Second New Deal, and that
It's a Band-Aid.
it was a Band-Aid on a major hemorrhaging wound. Yeah, you're right. I don't think it would have been enough.
I mean, what could he have done though? Other than that's-
Nothing.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
only-
that's,
so, and even then, you're still looking at inflation because FDR took us off the gold standard, right? He had to pay for all these troops fighting the war, and yet the government was in charge of. We have never seen such socialism in this country like we did in the 40s, right? The government told these companies what they were producing. They told them how much they were producing. They told them what they were going to pay. I'm talking about full-on socialism, and that's what we had there. Now, it's not. It's shadowed by World War II. We don't really study that. Had we not been in the war and tried that, I think it would have failed, colossally. But
Well, I mean, all these people, especially after the war, you had all these people coming back who needed jobs, who needed homes, who
what
needed.
helped with that, right? Because that was a big problem. That was a big worry that FDR faced. He was like, "We're gonna have hundreds of thousands of troops coming back and nowhere to go." Well, when these troops got home, they didn't hurry up to go back into the marketplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these guys were suffering from like severe PTSD, and mostly
Yeah,
everybody.
a lot of them weren't even skilled because
Right.
during the time in the military, a lot of them were going in there at 18 years old. The time when they would be getting a skill,
Even if
they were
not
in war.
16.
They were-
There's several 16.
They were skilled to kill. I mean, that's
Yeah,
basically
well, not just
what
that,
it
they
was.
was coming home like legit sick, not
But
like
there
mentally,
was-
but physically
it was
too.
a-
Diseases.
It's funny that you bring up the PTSD thing. It's
Uh-huh.
funny because I was talking to somebody about that. You don't hear about the PTSD from World War II people as much as you hear about it now. And I know we didn't understand it.
Well,
as much
Yeah,
back
that's
then.
really what it comes down
So
to.
in
Black
World War
Panther.
One, it was shell shock. In World War II, I forget what they call it in World War II. They didn't start calling it PTSD until after Vietnam. It was shell shock. It was I gotta look it up because they called it something differently. Or y'all can.
Now they're-
George
they're
Carlin
getting-
has a whole thing on it where he's
I
like,
love George Carlin. I wish he
we
was still
kept
alive.
breaking
I
it
don't know what he would
down,
say
right?
now.
So now it's this
I wish
big
Patrice
long.
O'Neal still alive.
But I do think it's an awareness thing because after Vietnam, people were like, what is this? Why can't I sleep at night? I'm having these things, and it had to take a very PC term. You know what I mean? I know guys who have PTSD who suffer from it daily. It is a big deal. It'll ruin your family, sure.
Yeah, that's what I said. Now it's like, I mean, like when I hear these, like, did you hear about after the election they had people going for counseling saying they had PTSD from the election?
Yeah.
Okay, so like when people started just taking the term, because I know I've seen firefighters,
Yeah.
EMTs, and
I've
police
seen
officers
people
that
who
have
have been in car. My sister's been in a car accident. She's got PTSD. You know what I mean?
If you go through some bad shit, you're gonna
Yeah,
have.
it's not.
Like there's kids that come up in bad neighborhoods all the time that has PTSD.
Oh, yeah, for
You
sure.
know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
there's
It's like
people with
it's-
just general anxiety disorder. I'm like, you live in a state of PTSD.
Yeah, but like
What's
from
hard
an
is that
election, that's laughable.
It changes for everybody, right? Like
Not just, you're just
somebody can hear a
emotionally
loud
weak,
sound
like,
and just have like a near-death experience and be like, loud sounds just terrify them now, right? Some people get in car accidents. The sight of a car accident can set them off. I know guys who I think the whole firework thing is kind of ridiculous. That's usually
an extreme. Now you see people posting that all the time, but I've never heard of anybody saying fireworks set them off.
I served in a war zone with a lot of people who served more terms than I did, like more tours, and they're just like they all feel like it's an attention grab. To be honest, that's not saying everybody's like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's some Vietnam guys out there who.
There's a lot of
freak
military
out.
guys that I know of. Like I'm not gonna say his name, but I know a guy. I'm like, dude, you never saw any actual active military combat. I'm like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, you didn't, dude. I'm like, don't hear that. And I know a girl who said the same thing. I'm like, they sent you home after basic training because you hurt your hip. I'm like, why are you claiming this stuff? You're traumatized from training. I'm like, geez.
You know what's sad though? I believe that some people are so watered down that when they actually face situations, even if it is just a drill sergeant yelling at you, that they will freak out. It will be a real thing.
I think that's what's happening to these kids now. I think they're emotionally coddling kids to the point that they're just not strong people.
Yeah.
That's why you can't handle a different opinion.
I think
That's
that
why
goes back
you
to
can't
earlier.
handle a basic discussion.
Because everybody gets. I mean, oddly enough, for the most part, we're pretty much all millennials in here. It started with our age.
I'm
group.
not.
You're not far off.
What's that one? What's that one
You're
right
80.
before
You're
that?
born in '85.
You say that
I was
though,
the
bro?
good. I was the good generation.
You say that though,
No, it's
but
just they made
hippies
one
used
up.
to do that. You know what I
They
mean?
made
Like,
it.
Yeah,
this
like-
isn't something that's new.
Like you think about it, like if you
It goes in a cycle.
I think social media exaggerates
Throughout
it,
history
is
that
what
I can
think.
see, there's been a cycle of on and off, and it usually follows wars and stuff like
the
that.
the greatest generation of men raised the worst generation of men. You know what I'm
But
saying?
you know what's crazy is like our generation, for the potential that we have, is compared to the greatest generation ever,
Yeah.
as far as Americans. But
I
will
tell
we
you,
realize that
It's
potential?
kind of like like in the stories you hear, like a man who became king went through all the hard struggles and was a great man, and then his son's just a fucking dick because he got everything
So-
he wanted. Like, you know,
That goes back
That's why you
to
gotta
one,
give your
the
kids some
cycle, and
adversity.
then not having anything else to argue about. Right? People have to
Right.
search out, but it's like, let's look at the things we saw as kids. Right? Our generation has saw more single parenthood than any other generation before us.
Latchkey kid era.
I wouldn't say poverty is worse, but people in poverty are doing worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that one just because.
So, and
just because the standard of what poverty is now, like okay,
Well, so
like I
like-
said, I just got back from Honduras.
yeah.
What's doing great there is considered extreme poverty.
Yeah, but I
Right,
mean it's
right.
it's relative. I mean here like in
Yeah.
America,
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like,
you can go in
it's
any
not
house-
really
like
that bad.
middle class. Like I do believe middle class is dying. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Like
true.
because you find me somebody that can just have a household with one income. Like typically both spouses
Mm-hmm.
and or parents or
So there's a lot of
partners are
changes
working.
too that happened in the last 20 years. I mean, okay, so there was a time we didn't have cable, you didn't have cell phones.
Well,
These are very high expenses.
Even
You
in
didn't have back then.
poverty-stricken areas, you got smartphones, you got flat screens. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Comfort of living is definitely up, but I think
Air
if you
conditioning,
look
the
at your
standard of air
poverty
conditioning, I'm
line-
like, in Honduras, the rich people don't use air conditioning.
if you look, so I'm talking about like your homeless people, right? That's who I was referring to, right? Yeah, some of your poor families, but they still got AC, they got video games, things like that. But I think homelessness has increased since then.
Homelessness has, but that's what I'm saying.
So,
Even
when I say
among
extreme-
the homeless, though, I'm saying like even when you think of homelessness now compared to as it used to be, it's not. It's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's bad, but it's not anything like some of these people.
I mean, everywhere ain't like Skid Row bad, but I mean,
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
shit, like shit's real. You know what I'm saying? But I think like here in America, the system forces us to live on credit. There's a keeping up with the Jones, or for like a better way of saying it, keeping
Well,
up with
every
the Kardashians
every
mentality.
That goes-
modern country now, yeah, credit.
I think that goes
credit's
into the
devil.
Federal Reserve. How are you going to run off of other people's credit when your national debt is $22 trillion and your money provider is not a part of your government and your money is not backed by anything?
Well, see,
right?
that was what I was telling people about the whole two-party system. I believe
Uh-huh.
that if enough people got together and decided like this 22 trillion in debt, this is unacceptable. Because here's the
So-
facts.
But
Here's
the
the fact.
world is in debt.
Well, here's the fact: conservatives and liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to say, leftists, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
neither one of them is lowering that.
Oh, no, for sure.
No.
Neither side.
So it's like,
So we can't
22
just keep voting people to put us in debt.
so I looked this up the other day. We are $22 trillion in debt. There's no more than $3 or $4 trillion flowing around the world altogether. You could tax every person on the planet 100%, and it makes up for a very small portion of your debt percentage. Like
We pretty much need to fall back.
the To who though? You know
Exactly.
What I'm
That's
saying?
what I'm saying.
That's a conspiracy.
to the next depression that we have, I'm terrified of it. I am absolutely
Pull a Fight
terrified.
Club, blow the shit up, or set it back to zero.
Like it's
Based
gonna
on-
make the Great
You ever heard of
Depression
Operation Spoil
look like
Sport?
child's play.
I hadn't.
That's what I was telling him
Heard
about.
Project Mayhem. That's about it.
Operation Spoil Sport. If like we get nuclear attack, we pretty much launch all our nukes all over the place. We just kill everybody.
I mean,
Let the Roaches take everything back over.
We just launch everything.
Mutual destruction, baby.
But I mean, it's. But that 2-party thing is going to be the end of us. Because I really
is.
feel
I
like
agree.
the left caters to the bottom 10%, the right caters to the upper 10%, and they both brainwash the middle 80% for votes, and to keep their asses
Well, it's-
elected in
oh, for
office.
sure. I don't even think
For
it's the
sure.
brainwash part because, like, honestly, when you talk to a lot of people who are in the middle, you get one or two answers. Fuck it, I really don't care at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was saying the other day about that. If
Yeah.
you talk to 70% of the people in the country, they're like, I don't know anything about politics and I don't care.
I believe it until I see the comments on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
So I found with the comments part, a lot of people will do like when they make a remark, go ahead and Google that remark. See what article.
Copy and paste.
Most of it is
Copy
copy
and
and paste
paste
or,
or just
recite
neat-
from
or-
the 1 to 3 top articles.
or
And then
a
being in
knee-jerk reaction based on emotional content.
And then being in people's houses every day, being an outside rep, I'm just like, the only thing that's on TVs in
CNN or
every
Fox
house.
So
CNN
me
or
and
Fox
him, me and
News.
him had this going bit.
Yes.
Every time we go into a house and it's a woman,
What you watching?
the book. The
Oh.
book. What book did you have? Michelle Obama's book that hasn't been opened is Collecting Dust, and it's brand fucking new that you know hasn't been opened. Like, there's that one, and what's the other book?
Well, Hillary's book.
Yeah.
And I see Hillary's book a lot, and I do it normally. I look and see what books they got in their house and stuff like that because I see it. Even the conservative people, I see it there too. I see a stack of like conservative books, and they don't have creases in them, and I'm like, you never read that
But
book.
the amount of women, it's crazy. The amount of women that have,
But they
like,
have to
Hillary
leave
or
it. They
Michelle
leave it
on
out. They want
that's
it
out
on
on the
table.
pedestal or
I,
something
um,
like that. that
I'm one of those
just haven't
people.
read.
I have been reading the same Thomas Sowell book for about 2 years.
But you've read it. They haven't read it.
Well, that's the one book I have read. I have The Wealth of Nations that I haven't read. I have General Theory, which is the Keynesian.
Okay, so
No, that don't bother me.
That's-
Like, I've seen
here's-
people with books on a bookshelf. That's fine. I mean, like the book is staged.
So he,
It's
yeah,
positioned for you to
here's-
see it.
here-
They want
here's
you
when
to
I
see it when you
This
walk
is-
in their house.
This is the first thing I go. Oh, you've read this book? Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, so in chapter 4, when she mentioned, I would have to go back and read that.
You call
Yeah,
them on
it's
there.
been a
bro.
I'm
really-
like,
it's
I'm
been
like,
a
it's a
while.
complete lie. I haven't touched that book, so how would the fuck I know? Like, you know.
Yeah.
Tell you, if y'all are into the self-help books or whatever, Jordan Peterson's is super good.
I'll just say like Bernie Sanders wrote a book and got filthy rich, but I've never met a single person that's read that book. I'm like,
I mean,
the dude Bernie Sanders has done absolutely nothing the entire. He has mastered the art of being nothing.
he is so lazy. He
got
got
kicked out
thrown
of-
out of a commune.
Yeah, got kicked out of a commune because he was too lazy, wouldn't do anything. Then he got into politics and somehow got filthy stinking rich, and he's never passed anything. Like he's hardly even voted for anything.
Yeah.
Well, he let all those veterans die in the VA, so there's that.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He
that's
just he lives he lives on in action, and I don't know. Bernie Sanders, like when Bernie Sanders got all that huge support from college students, I was like, oh, I feel bad for
All
him.
right, so I got
I
one.
mean, but it makes sense because hella
Let's
Free
liberal.
college.
Let's
Like
say
3 years.
let's
Free
say
stuff.
you all had to choose a Democratic nominee. Who would be y'all's pick?
Yang.
Yeah.
Shit,
Andrew Yang probably. Or
guy from Texas, Beto.
ooh,
Tulsi
really?
Gabbard.
You heard what his new thing?
Wow.
No.
Why? Because she just has no opinion.
No, Tulsi Gabbard
She just
has
nothing.
the best foreign policy out of any politician in Washington, and it's not even close. Her foreign policy alone would almost make me vote for her.
Beto's new thing he wants to pass is he wants to put more taxes on non-veterans so we can pay for the people who are coming back from war and can't get jobs. He wants to double the taxes on non-vets.
You can slide me back to Yang then.
that was his new, and he wasn't joking. He legit came out with that. Was
I
what
like
the fuck?
Yang. I think Yang is incredibly intelligent.
No, I think his
his-
$1,000 plan is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think his UBI is not
Yeah, but
good.
like, again,
I've asked people a question. Like I went to his little campaign site, and I mean, of course, I had 8 million response people because it was on his promoting page, and I was like, honestly, if you're for this $1,000 thing, you're either ignorant or just oblivious. So I was like, I'm just gonna, because people started attacking me. I'm like, okay, please explain to me where you're getting the money.
But no, what I like to,
Just tell me where you're getting it. Why don't you just cut taxes?
Hey,
Like,
look,
if you're gonna
look.
do that.
I will count that as Trump's wall. I know that shit ain't gonna happen.
no, I don't think so either.
That's just something
I don't
saying
think it
for
was
votes.
ever gonna happen. To be honest with you, I think
I think it
was-
needs to happen.
I think that's-
every sovereign country should have
that's-
a fiscal barrier.
That's the conservative.
This is gonna tunnel
equivalent.
underneath that on some El Chapo shit.
So-
This is gonna-
Yes, but it's still proven. Like if you have a barrier, yes, they could tunnel on it, but it would slow them down enough to allow Border
all right, but
Patrol
what
to
a
transfer
drug? What a
reaction.
drug's gonna come from? Like, let's be honest. What a drugs? You put all these barriers up. We don't make the best drugs. Like on some Chris Rock shit. They coming across.
My whole thing is that I know
They
laws
Canada
never.
can't cook, man.
Not the type of snow that these
That's a
people
whole
want.
They're leaders. They're
That's a
leaders.
whole
Wait,
other
Heidi, what are you doing? I'm shoveling snow.
I'll tell you what.
Where the fuck did their leaders get the drug at? They got pictures of their fucking leaders doing coke and shit, and they're just like, man, that was a Tuesday. We're over that.
No, I'll tell you what you do. When they start tunneling under, we're going to tunnel for them. They're going to be like, man, this bitch is long. They're going to pop up in Canada. Got you now, bitch. You can have them.
Let's legalize pot and coke and let people do their thing. And nobody's going to want to touch heroin, meth.
Hey, I'll do you one better. Legalize everything. I believe in natural
I would
selection.
too.
If somebody,
Well, it's not because of that reason.
look, if
but-
somebody wants to grab a spoon, you know what I mean, a syringe and a lighter and some aluminum foil, have at it. If you want to get on some Heisenberg stuff, cool.
So,
I'm not
so
going
I'll
mad.
tell
I
you
don't
this.
think they
'cause
want that, though.
we
They want
wanted
that
we,
fix, right?
we wanted to
Yeah.
do we wanted to do a debate about marijuana.
Right.
Because because I get this a lot, and I only understood this after I became a cop.
I don't
Because
know
I was
anybody-
fully on. There's no reason not to legalize marijuana. I was like flat out. I don't see a single fucking reason that you shouldn't go ahead and legalize it. I'm like, it's like alcohol. You get drunk, right? And you know
It's
what's
safer
wrong.
than alcohol, for sure.
Here's the only problem, and
can't-
I didn't see this until I worked there. There is no way to test somebody to see if they're high at the moment.
No, that's when
So, someone that's high gets into a car accident, kills a family of kids. You can't prosecute him for being high. Because all you can say is within 30 days he smoked weed.
right.
And see, that was the problem. They were like, everybody's like, I can tell you right now, most legislation, they're like, yeah, sure, we're okay with doing that as soon as somebody comes up with a way for us to test it
All right.
accurately.
I got
But
one.
that
I
could
got
fall
one.
under testing them for being impaired. Because I mean, if you take in too much weed, you do get lethargic and shit.
Yeah.
But all right. So what's the difference between doing that then with it legal and doing that now?
What you mean?
What if somebody gets high now
We can
and
prosecute
kills
them properly.
for possession?
What?
If somebody's high now on weed,
If somebody
And-
drove
Yeah,
high and killed
it's
somebody.
Kill
right
somebody.
now, the way it is, you can link the possession and the usage. If they're in possession of it, like when they got in the accident and stuff like
but
that.
that doesn't make it just.
But that'd be
You know what
like
I'm saying?
an
That
extreme.
that'd be one of
It's
those
still
bullshit
loophole.
charges, to be honest.
It's all up, but every law is like you're really just trying to encourage them not to do it. You know you
get,
can't stop
I get
it.
that, but there's no difference between that happening now and that happening then, right?
So
You can plant that charge
It's
on
different. I
them,
mean,
sure.
I could say the same thing about alcohol. But that's what I'm saying. It's illegal to drive drunk, right?
But like
Yeah.
the people that don't want to make it legal because of that case, that's no different than the pro-choice chick saying, "Well, what if somebody got raped?" We talking about an extreme case. You know what I mean? Because I look at Colorado, how they've just been balling on the state level as far as the economy
Well,
goes.
actually, they have a big problem right now.
Yeah.
They've had some problems. I was just reading up on that, just following up, just like Seattle with the $15 thing.
And then
They're-
Amsterdam too.
They're showing bad repercussions from some of these things. A big thing about in Colorado is actually the drug dealers and stuff are giving some pushback to that because what'd you do? You just
Well, of
cut
course.
in all their profits.
You give them opportunity to go legit.
They've said that. I've talked to somebody about that. What about letting them go legit? They don't want to go legit. Legit means I pay taxes.
Hey, no, look, like, hey, take legit money. All right, we'll leave these few things right here illegal, just for you. We just want to open up the jails. We're tired of having the same pothead being there since
sounds like we're
82.
going back to the 60s and 70s, man. Because I mean,
Look, that's what it is, bro.
sell this for us.
Hey, look, Because I mean, it happens a lot. I mean, I forgot the guy's name. I was watching the interview
Like,
on YouTube.
I don't agree with the reasons why it became illegal in the first place. That was stupid.
Paraphernalia, because they wanted to.
No. The reason marijuana became legal originally, it was cutting into the hemp. Hemp was hemp industry and all that.
Yeah.
rope and
Yeah,
all that.
That's what I'm saying.
Made-
Yeah.
Yeah, so then it was like you had to get a stamp, but nobody ever got a stamp.
Yeah.
You had to get the approval for it. I mean, we have
And then
stuff
they
like
just
that now. They're
trying to
do that.
convince everybody it was
They're trying to do
bad.
that for silencers, ammunitions, guns.
I
all
wish
that
we was
stuff.
using
You
the
need to
hemp
get a
plant for
stamp.
everything. You know what I'm saying? I wish we went back to textiles on hemp.
Well, I think hemp and CBD both just became legal again, right? Is that
CBD oil, yeah.
Yeah.
If you listen to Joe, you know that, right?
I mean, shrooms became legal in Denver. I know that from him. That's all he's talking about right now.
Now I will
Which
say,
he's going
like,
to Denver.
like you're never gonna stop drugs. You're never gonna stop people from doing stupid
Well,
stuff.
that's
You're never gonna stop.
So-
it.
What's that?
they have some psychologists who have studied that, right? And even the one the Joe Rogan with Dr. Phil, right? He's maybe it wasn't
Dr.
it was
Phil.
it was somebody, and they were just like some of these people are just looking for a temporary fix, right? You legalize weed, and you legalize cocaine, right? Which I'm not an advocate of either. I don't like weed. I don't like coke. Just the way I've never done coke. I smoke weed. I don't like it. I'm fat and I like to eat already. I don't need help. But if you legalize those two, there's no incentive for somebody to try meth or heroin or any of those really dangerous things. You know what I mean? Not that coke's not dangerous, but it's not compared to the other three.
That's not. Yeah, that's.
Nah, that's. I mean, because
Dr. Phil's argument for that was there's no reason for them to try it because we have opioids right now. The pills are taking over.
Yeah, you
Big-
can get the
big
pills
pharma.
easier.
And Big
So,
Pharma's the biggest
so the
drug dealer
biggest
out there.
problem, been around a lot of drug dealers, and I've asked them for it because they'll come back and forth into jail. And I'm like, dude, what's wrong, man? Like, you was straight, and dude got big swole in jail. He gets out. 6 months later, he's back in. He's toothpick skinny. He's back on drugs. I'm like, come on, man. He's like, man, you don't know what it's like, man. He said stuff starts calling your name. And he said that old stuff, it ain't doing it for you no more. He's like, you gotta find a better high. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand that because I've never been into that stuff, but it started like making sense when I see these guys. They're like, you just don't get it, man. You have to have a bigger high. And then when they're coming off of it, all their nerve endings are like dead. And when they're coming back to life and shit, it's pain. It's just pain to them. Mm-hmm. So they need it. And they need something stronger and stronger and stronger. So there is an incentive for reason to make some stuff illegal just because a lot of people would fucking kill themselves. I mean, they already are.
Do you think the war on drugs has done more harm than good?
The war on
I think it's done way more harm than good.
the war on it's done.
That's not true. That's
I feel like it was some bullshit from Reagan. I mean, that's just
I think that's
how
more of
I
a
feel.
two-part answer. Like
Yeah.
I've seen it do good, and I've seen it do.
It's
completely
taken down
awful.
some really bad drug dealers,
Yeah.
but there's always somebody going to fill that vacuum.
I was about to say
And-
somebody's
think-
gonna replace him.
Exactly. So
I
I mean,
actually
really,
think-
all it is you're just constantly
And
attacking
my-
and
my whole
never-
thing,
yeah,
if you-
never
if you
a
truly-
never-ending war.
One, you can't truly legalize it because you do have the big people. You can say what you want. It's not a conspiracy. You have big people, rich people making money off of that.
Oh, no, for sure.
They're going to do everything in their power to make sure it's not legal.
Well, yeah, because they're making too much money off
Yeah.
of it.
Two, if it did become legal, the amount of people that would be out of money would be outstanding. Like that would cause a
think-
big panic.
I
for
think
a lot
that's
of
the
people.
case. I don't think it's
It's not permanent, but it would
not
start.
permanent, but
I think the bigger thing
I'll
is
leave
like,
you
do
to-
you really,
But this
do you
is
really
the
want
thing.
to
Prohibition.
Mm-hmm.
You could not drink. I'm pretty sure somebody had that same discussion. Well, fuck, if we do this, motherfuckers gonna lose money. Somebody gotta lose money.
Prohibition. After that happened, a lot of the sellers went to drugs. When there's nothing else to go to,
And that's all
the
was it.
rebel-
Well,
Look,
prohibition is what started
And
the
I-
mafia.
and I'm not saying I'm
It's
not,
what created
again, I'm
the
not saying it's
mafia.
permanent.
So,
It's one of the
but-
situations that it's going to have to get worse before it gets better.
all I'm saying is, if a 45-year-old man out there wants to go bang a hooker, all right, do a rail, and then go get a big blunt afterwards.
Go to Bangkok.
You know what I'm saying?
Take you a trip South
Go to
America.
Bangkok.
You good? Come on
You
back
know.
from the weekend. But I think there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle that I think none of us actually see the whole picture, and I don't think we ever will. I think you got super rich drug dealers who are like, I don't want that shit to be illegal to cut into my
But
profits.
see, I don't like how like it isn't enforced like the same. You know what I'm saying? Like we go to New Orleans. If a kid in the 128 get caught with a bag of weed, it's gonna hit different than if a kid in the
Yeah, he gonna get a
7,000.
summons.
No, yeah.
Then a kid in the 7,000s.
I remember when they made that change. They're like, no, we're just issuing summons now.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So the kid in the 7,000
I was like,
get caught, they get a slap on the wrist, but that kid in the 128, he might get caught up in.
Well, New Orleans is a whole nother.
No, but it's like that everywhere.
I tell people in New Orleans like their own state. They run that place like it's their own
So-
state.
but
They have laws that are completely unconstitutional. You can't have a 45. You can't use a 45 caliber gun. It's not legal in New Orleans. Just in New Orleans. I was like, what? You can't do that on a state level. You can't just decide that.
I mean,
a city level, not even a state.
But not like even out here or even if you go to BR, you know what I'm saying? The kid off North Foster, if he get caught with, a gram of coke, it's gonna hit different than a kid that grew up near Donald.
That's the same thing. Like when you probably everybody. This is an old story. That a woman, she crossed the state line, had a gun in her car. She was moving or something like that. She was just passing through, but she got arrested, put in jail, kids taken from her, all that kind of stuff, because of a gun. And that's just because the gun laws in that particular spot that she was in were different than, and she was just passing through. She wasn't even trying to stay there, but she got pulled over there. So she went to jail, and it's like, I don't know. See, stuff like that. I'm like, y'all expect everybody to be a lawyer, and that's not right.
I think going back
A lawyer for every place in the country too.
Going back to the war on drugs, though, I think just the amount of people who have had to go to jail and serve ridiculous sentences for having pot. Right?
That's a different story. They should definitely be released off of that. Especially what blows my mind is all these states are making it legal and they have yet to be released.
So let me ask you this, though. You take a man who got arrested at 18. He's been doing 15, 20, 25, 30 years, right? For possession of pot, right? We all agree that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. You turn this man out with no job skills, nowhere to go, no family who knows him. Mm-hmm. He's just going to end up back in jail, right?
Absolutely.
So
that's the problem.
What do we do to stop that from happening?
You talking about for the people who are already in jail?
Yes.
But prisons got to actually get rehabilitated. And all prison really is.
I agree with
prison
that.
ain't nothing but modern day slavery,
Yeah,
honestly.
that's what I was going to say. If you're in prison, one, it depends on what you're in prison for. Like, if you're a life sentence, you're no parole. I mean, you're stuck there.
Right.
But pot people who are in there for pot, they should be in programs. They should put them in programs.
I agree.
So when they come back to community, to society, they are contributing to society. It's ridiculous that they can't do that because of the fact that you are legit saying, "All right, I'm gonna see you in a couple weeks."
Yeah.
Like you were in here since 16, so we're gonna see you in a couple weeks because you're gonna be banging on the street.
So rehabilitation systems are in place in jails. Like you can get a degree, you can go to college, you can finish high school. Most of them now do have rehabilitation systems. Not a lot of people took advantage of it, but I'll tell you something that's really messed up about it, right? So we had a dude in there who was locked up in there. He already had a college degree. Then we had another dude who got his high school diploma and then was going on to doing some college courses. So he gets credit for doing those and gets reduced sentence. The guy who's got a college degree says, "Well, I want to take those and get a reduced sentence." They're like, "Nah, you don't qualify. You already got a degree." I'm like, that's jacked up. So what can he do? Like, can he do something? I guess they're like, "Well, you should have known better."
And some states are better at it than others.
So,
I'm good.
So I'm against the war on drugs, but one of my stances is always when I'm against something, I would like to try to find a solution to fix it.
Oh no, for sure.
And so like some of the solutions presented, like make it all legal. I'm like, okay, but what would we do to stop crime from rising for that short period of time? Because that's going to happen. And
it didn't after Prohibition.
Again, but they went to different crime. They went to different type of selling.
I said mafia just got into other criminal activity.
And that's the thing. When you take away all the selling, you're getting into more dangerous territories.
Fuck it. Hey, if you go legit, we ain't taxing you. We'll treat your ass just like the church and just like a nonprofit. Shit, tell them something to start a nonprofit dealing with drugs.
And see, you think that you
the
think that's
nonprofit
smart, but what Colorado
organization
is doing, like for the whole,
yeah,
you can have a legit start. Oh, by the way, you need this license, and you need to pay this fee to get this license.
That's what I'm saying.
You need this too.
But that's what I'm saying.
School
No overhead.
It's gonna go.
Don't charge them anything.
And that's
just
the
let
thing,
them
it's not
open
the
up.
government doing it. It's private organizations causing it to happen.
Hey, you know what we do?
And that's why the Divided People is opening a gender studies program to help y'all understand genders.
No, we're not.
The government will never go without its money. You know what I'm saying?
No, the government's always
as much as I like that idea, it'll never.
The government is okay. So the government is a mafia. Okay, that's
like,
what they are. It changes hands of power. So like
you have to pay money for turning a license plate in.
Yeah,
come on, guys.
Well, no, this was stupid, right? Okay, so I want to leave the country and come back. I got to pay a tremendous amount of money for a passport to go there and come back. It's like I'm a citizen here and I pay taxes. Shouldn't you issue me that? I mean, shouldn't that just be issued to me? Same thing for like an ID.
Right.
Why do I have to pay for an ID? You say I have to have it, but then you're gonna make me pay for it? Like, isn't that illegal? Isn't that like the definition of theft? You're forcing me to have it because I mean, I don't know about other states, but in Louisiana, you are required by law to have an ID on you.
Yeah.
And you have to show it if someone asks for it. If they ask for it, you have to show your ID. So it's like, okay, I'm required to have it, but you don't issue it to me. I got to go pay for it.
I love sitting around and talking about all these ideas, right, that could really make this country such a better place. But what we have to do, we have to go and look at the spending chart, right? Not the discretionary, but the mandatory spending chart, and see where we're spending most of our money. So a lot of people think that we've spent most of our money on foreign wars, right? Which we've spent a lot of money there. But most of our money still goes to Social Security and like entitlement spending and welfare
Entitlement
programs.
We
programs.
still get
Loaded
Social
in,
Security. Are we sure about that?
Our age group won't see.
I'm about to say, like,
We'll see.
God damn it, we contributing to it.
They dipped their hand in that cookie jar.
I'm about to say, like, are we sure it's still there, guys? Like,
Actually, so this is one of my favorite things to talk about is the Social Security. If I had it my way, right, here's what I would do. If you're 45 and older, and everybody has the choice, but if you're 45 and older, you keep putting in until you're 65 or 68 or whatever the age is, and you cash it out, and that's that, right? If you're between 25 and 44, you have two choices. You can either cash it out for a penalty, with like a penalty tax.
like bonds, not bonds. What's that? Continue. Sorry.
Like it's like an early withdrawal tax.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like if you
kinda-
have a 401k, you take out early. It's the same thing, but you can either take out like 75% of it and you get taxed at 25%, but it's your cash now, or you can get 100% of it if you roll it over into your personal 401k or Roth IRA. And then if you're under 25, now you have your choice to do whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
But at that age, you're responsible for saving for your own retirement.
so I forgot who it was, but I saw an article. It was like a CPA or somebody wrote this article about the retirement programs and stuff like that, Social Security, Medicaid, all that kind of stuff, like Medicare or whatever. And he was talking about like all the money that the government takes from me and says it's for my own good, and that I'm going to get it back when I'm this old. He's like, if I would have started putting that money aside into my own investments and retirement investments when I was this old, when I started working, to this point, he's like, I would have been a millionaire.
Well, that's-
he's like, but
But that's because he has to pay for everybody who didn't put in. You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
Yeah.
that's what he's saying. He's like, no, well, that's what that was his point was. He got it in. Like, even if you were going to take a slice of it and give it to some other people,
Yeah.
it still would have grown at an exponentially higher
Oh,
rate
yeah.
than what the government did. So the question is, what did the government do with it? What did you do with that?
We'll
my
find
money?
out in the
Probably-
decade when Social Security expires.
Bomb some children in Afghanistan or something.
you became president. 3 things you would do. Most important things that you would try to do.
Ooh.
I like this question.
Three things
It's
that I'll
coming
try
to
to
you
do.
too.
Yeah, we probably should
Okay,
have that
it-
before the show started. There's some time to think about it.
No, all right. So, 3 things I would do. I'll still legalize all vices. I'll just be like, screw
Okay.
it. You know what I'm saying? I would also try to figure out a way to get us to depend less on imported labor and goods. Granted, that would drive the cost of stuff to go up. And
Temporarily.
yeah, and
Just for a while.
let's see. So legalizing vices, using more of our own stuff.
Legalizing is also releasing, or
You including releasing past offenders in that?
Yeah, if it applies, yeah.
okay.
And
You think well, I'm not gonna get it. We're gonna get it. I was gonna say a mass release on that scale. Ooh, there
nah,
was some
it'd have to.
international
Yeah,
now.
it'd have to be
You suddenly have
triple.
that many hardened criminals coming out of jail
Yeah,
all
I
at the
know,
same
right?
time. Woo.
Let them start their own country.
Strip clubs
Same
would be overrun.
Australia.
Yeah. Let's, yeah.
Prison colony.
All right. So what would the third item be? I ain't gonna lie, that was a solid question.
I've been holding it for a while.
yeah,
I've been letting y'all
yeah.
go through these topics on this point.
By the way, we're at the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, I know that's
Holy
fine.
shit.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
know.
a real Joe Rogan episode.
Yeah, I know, right? But nah,
we
shit.
almost have him beat, don't we?
No, he has a 5-hour one.
Oh, really?
Wow. Alex Jones is 5
I think
hours.
we could have done that.
I would revamp the education system. That'd be my third piece.
I agree with that.
I would
Okay,
agree.
wait. I gotta elaborate on that a little bit. Do you think the government has a place in forcing education to run a certain way?
Yes and no. All right, so politics shouldn't be involved in everything. And the craziest thing about like when the whole Common Core thing became a item. If you're gonna hold students to a uniform standard, teachers should be held to a uniform standard. So let's say, like I took my practice exams in social studies and in general social studies and biology. So let's say biology, for Louisiana, I need like a 160. I can go to Texas and need a 180. So just make it clear cut across the board. I feel like it should be macro managed by the government, not micromanaged. Because what a kid needs to learn in Louisiana is going to be different than what a kid needs to learn in Nevada, New York State, Washington State, Cali. You see what I'm saying?
So what do you think about just the private system, just full on letting
Well,
it run like a business?
Well, that's what's going on right now with charter schools, because it's like part private. Well, it's like 100% private. I really think it should be like a healthy mix, maybe 60-40.
See, I like the charter system also because it forces parents to be involved too, because the kids have to be competitive, the school has to be competitive, and the teachers have to be competitive. It makes everybody try a little harder.
Yeah.
Parents care a little more about teaching their kids. Like, no, man, you need to get into school. You know, we got to work on your math or whatever. I see kids going to public school. Their parents just don't care at all.
Well, you also gotta look at it. You have different populations that's going. See, like, so if you chances are, for kids going to a private school or to a charter school, the parents actually give a shit about like the development of their kid, especially on the educational standpoint. With public school, you get what you get. Like, you got some kids that go to a school just so their family can keep getting their benefits so they can eat. You got some that's going to school just so they don't get taken in by a truant officer. You got some going to school just so their parents don't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? You also have some going to school just so they get some type of food in their stomach. You know what I mean? So it's a mixed bag. But with education, my biggest thing would be, let's get away from standardized testing. Let's stop pushing every kid towards college. Only 10 to 15% of the population should be going to college, because only 10 to 15% of the jobs require a college degree. Let's get back to trades.
Ooh,
you see what I'm saying?
That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying.
When
Like,
it comes to this job situation, I'm like, dude, why can't we go back to the age where you did like apprenticeships and stuff like that? But now they're like, we want education and an apprenticeship. I was telling him, I'm like, that's ridiculous. I'm like, you want me to go to college for 4 years and then do an apprenticeship with you where I'm going to get paid crap
Or you
during
still
that
got to
time?
pay student loans.
I'm like, what the fuck?
then you gotta have experience, but you can't get experience
And
because you
then
can't get a
you got
job.
college teachers that aren't even truly qualified to teach a subject. I'm like, what makes you an expert on this subject? Because I went to school for it. Once again, what makes you an expert on this subject?
But
Did you work in this field?
You have people that go to school just to be a professor. I had, if I could say her name, Christina Merckx, Dr. Merckx. I remember one time she said, she's like, look, people that are A-B students, 4.0s, high 3.0s, we tend to work in academia. Those of you that make 2.0s to 3.2s and 3s, y'all tend to go out to the workforce because y'all tend to have a nice mix of not only mental capacity, but social capacity as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there's also different intelligence types. You got people that are kinetic geniuses. You got people that are audio. You got people that are visual geniuses. You know what I'm saying? You got people that can do things with
everybody's
their
got
hands.
something they can be great at. It's finding out what that is.
Yeah, you know.
But I'm just saying, I just don't like the way the system working. Like, this guy I need to agree from this guy because he's considered an expert in this field just because he got it from another guy who was supposedly an expert in that field. I'm like, how many of y'all have actually done something in that field?
It's because the push went from, okay, you guys are from high school, oh shit, 4-year degree. People were selling for a 2-year degree now, but to get a leg up on everybody else, it's like, if all these people got a 2 and 4 years, I'm going to get a master's
College
degree.
was the most brilliant business plan I've ever seen.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly. It's the most brilliant. And Ben Shapiro says it all the time. Like, law school, they said when they did their little commencement thing, he was like, yo,
you made it.
You're done. You're already there. You're already going to make money. You're guaranteed.
Let's put a pin in that. 3. Mr.
All
President.
Right. So, 3 things I would fix or change, right?
Mm-hmm.
First is I'm abolishing the Federal Reserve. Right off the bat. It's a very Ron Paul approach.
That's ballsy.
Who, by the way, is the only congressperson to ever hit a
ballsy.
home run in a congressional baseball game. There's your fun fact for the day.
Man keeping stats on fucking Congress.
Steve Scalise was going to, but something happened.
Womp womp.
Where was Bill Clinton?
The
Getting
second...
hit in the dugout.
What's the mascot?
The second, I'm abolishing the Federal Department of Education. I I would like to see more private schools, and I would like to see the states put more money into not charter programs, but magnet schools, right? If a guy in his freshman year knows that he wants to be a welder, why is he going to waste time learning Algebra 2? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
I like the idea of putting the money where you want to put it.
Oh, exactly. And you can do that better at a local level.
Your tax money for your kids' school, whatever.
Yeah.
Where do you want to put it?
Abolish the Fed, abolish the Federal Department of Education. And third, I don't have a good way on how I do it, but I would try and incentivize like having dual parents, right? If you look at your prison population, if you look at your teen suicide rates, if you look at your homelessness rates, all these come, like 90% of all of these people come from single parent homes. That's both single moms and single dads, right? Single parenthood is a cancer, and it's not being addressed.
I just
right?
don't see a way to do that on a government scale.
As a guy, well, I know that's hard. As a guy who's grown up without a dad, like it gets tricky. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went into work. I went to the military first, and then I went into the plants. Right? When I went to the plants, all these guys knew how to use all these tools and all. I was like, I've never done this before. You know what I'm saying? And if it weren't gonna be that, it would be
I'd say entitlement programs. I'd go after those.
Yeah, I would reduce entitlement programs over
business.
Let's just say
I'm just saying me.
You're a treasurer. No one cares about
I
you.
think that's one of the biggest
Let's
ones.
say I got all that years as a president. I would try and reduce entitlement spending over 8 years by 100% and get rid of all of it.
Yeah, you'd have to wing
Over
off
time,
of it.
yeah,
It would-
for sure,
It
yeah.
would take a long time. You wing people on it, you got to wing.
I
off.
think, I think the welfare state has been a major part in supplying single parenthood. You know what I mean?
But entitlement programs never disappear; they only grow.
Yeah.
They don't go away. They only
Where
grow.
can we find the podcast?
All right, so the Facebook page, the name of it is On the Fence. You'll see a nice graphic of the two of us and a mic, designed by my boy Kevin Gray.
Again, he does not look as buff as he is right now.
Pictures misleading.
The
But we got a photo we're putting up. So.
yeah, right. And the name of the Twitter page is On the Fence or at OTF show _. And
Do you tweet a lot?
I tweet a lot on my personal page.
You want to?
Yeah, I
you
mean,
want to put that
Promote,
out?
plug anything y'all want.
yeah. My personal Twitter page is Donnie Bravo. If you want to type in the @ name, it's at Donnie Bravo, DONNY Bravo 47. If you want to hit me up on Snapchat, He Hates Me Jr. I was an XFL fan growing up, and my IG, as you can see, I'm a social media whore. Like, I'm on that shit all day, every day.
Dude, it's hard. I try to post with the divided people. We ain't got no love on Twitter.
Yeah.
Twitter's like a...
I've never had luck on
Nah,
Twitter.
Twitter is
followers.
hardcore liberal leftist.
Well, it's just hard.
You gotta learn how to pick your spots.
Like, at least
and-
with Facebook,
I
you
just-
can like
I
invite
just
people.
never
You can't really
seen
invite
it.
people on
Right.
Twitter.
All the guys in Slidell use Twitter, but all the guys in Tangipahoa Parish, they don't touch it. So I don't
Nah,
know.
but you can hit him on IG. And
I've tried.
You'll love the IG
really
name, Big Don Fuchsias. Or
And
at _
The first episode's coming out in September.
Yeah,
That's what we're
September.
aiming for, yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully by then I have Garrett on
Does this
on
count?
Twitter
Does this really count as our
individually.
first episode?
Because well, we're over 3 hours, and I feel like we're gonna be talking about them coming back before September. we talked about stuff that we need to dive into.
Yeah, I feel like
we
we just kind of scratched the surface of
yeah,
every
yeah,
little
we
topic.
just scratched the surface of a whole bunch of shit without going into anything really hard. We're like,
but-
no, time.
Yeah.
Still at 3 hours. We're still looking for time.
So
Good.
we've been the divided people. Y'all have a good night.
Well, how did you like that? If you did like it, please like us on YouTube or any podcast platform. Subscribe to us. Message us comments. We talk to everybody. And if you would like to be on, don't be afraid to contact us. Like they did, and come on the show. They're really cool people. If you like what they were saying, they do have their podcast coming out, The Fence. And so we'll be in September. So yeah, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed it, and good night.